Hello everyone and welcome back to the life and suffering of Prince Jerian. So in the last episode we had a lot of beef with our uncle Cornelius, really getting on my last nerve, really keep pushing things still. The council is still back and forth, just a lot of problems, but we are still trying to maintain some type of balance with people and such. But yeah, it's getting to be a little bit of a problem. So we're gonna have to try to make amends with people and try to get some type of situation going with the council, because now the council is getting to the point to where they just don't even want to have it. So Cornelius is just trying to be a dictator to a certain degree, and yeah, it's problems abound. But on the good side, our wife did, well, my fiance, she did turn around and help out a little bit. She lent some of the initial betrothal money to us so we could turn around and put it in our coffers and such. So that does help out the kingdom a bit, and it does help out our relationship with her. But now we will continue forward and see what will happen. I do believe we have a Millennium Senate coming up at some point in time, though I don't think it's until one of the later chapters. I believe it's like chapter, I want to say 5, might be 5. Yeah, because I think the next chapter is more just dealing with the council a little bit more. But anywho, we'll cross that bridge when we get here. Right now, we have a scene to get to: uncomfortable questions. The carriage glides through the dense twilight, bound for the summer palace. Uther's refuge from the chaos of the bustling capital, a refuge where decisions are made. Your thoughts hum like disturbed bees. Your father's decree on the creation of the Creed will limit the power of the Tempests, but even that isn't the crux of it. You are the heir, yet the Emperor chose not to seek your counsel. In fact, he didn't even tell you about the Creed. It is a decision that will shape the future of the Empire and the Tempests, and therefore your own future as well. Tonight, you will confront your father with the questions that have been eating away at you. So yeah, that's the other thing too. Our father is useless. The Emperor is utterly useless, but he does love turning around and doing things like this and just kind of popping up out of nowhere to kind of, well, fuck us. So there we are. The carriage creaks to a halt at the foot of the palace's marble staircase. The servants bow and escort you to a sunlit balcony suspended high above the pond. Upon entering, you notice a large cage sitting on the balustrade, teeming with birds of various breeds. Their lively chatter fills the air, drowning out the outside world. Emperor Uther holds a small silver bucket, pouring grain into the feeder. Beside him, a tall Archnian with a broad face and sharp cheekbones leans casually against the wall. Towering a head above you, the stranger's massive shoulders strain against his embroidered silk shirt. His silver beard is bound in a tight braid. He watches the birds, whistling a simple tune. At the sound of your footsteps, Uther turns reluctantly towards you. Jerian, so glad you've come. Just look at them. Aren't they magnificent? Then your father turns to the guests. The man bows silently and leaves, never having introduced himself. Uther smiles. He looks vigorous and refreshed, yet there is an unhealthy edge to his agitation. Seeing a bandage on his hand, you ask him what happened. It's nothing really, just a scratch from working in the garden. Look at those two Timis in the back. Quiet, patient little things. They don't clamor, unlike the rest of these screamers, even though they can see the food just fine. They know I won't forget them. That's why they're my favorites. Uther strokes the birds gently, then shakes his hands clean and sits beside you. He inquires about the books you've been reading, the latest plays in the city's theaters, Hector's well-being, the tricks you've been teaching him. The trilling of the birds continues in the background. Your fingers tap impatiently on the arm of your chair as you answer his idle questions. How much longer will your father pretend not to understand your purpose here? I know you're here for a reason, son. It's about the decree, isn't it? You make an effort to hold back your frustration and keep your voice steady. Yes, you have questions that demand answers. Why did your father order the enactment of the creed? What purpose does it serve? Does it not undermine the Tempest's authority? The creed is our salvation, son. Yours above all else. No Archnean should shoulder the responsibility for the entire world. Power destroys. It has consumed me, worn me ragged. I cannot let it ruin you too. Look at me, Jerian. Is this the emperor our subjects want? An old man running from decisions, crippled by responsibility, a weakling cowering behind his brother and son? I know how others see me. Then abdicate. You avert your eyes. The birds hop from one perch to another, their voices a cacophony of chatter. Your father's hand rests heavily on your shoulder. Listen, Jerian, power is ruinous to him who holds it. You may think you are all powerful when the crown is upon your head, but you're not. Family, blood, the past and the future, the twins, our ancestors, our subjects, these are the chains that bind the emperor. In the end, they will break anyone. The ruler carries the world upon his shoulders, and it will drive him mad. Your father's tone falters, growing muffled and subdued. His words send a cold shiver down your spine. No ruler of our empire has died a natural death. Every single one of them went to the peak with his own dagger or poison as his guide. You may not understand this now, but if you were in my place, you would come to the same end, either madness or suicide. I want neither of those for you. This burden is too heavy for a ruler to bear alone. It is time for the people of the empire to share in it, to step forward and take responsibility for their own nation. You frown. Your father's words clearly come from the heart, but the blood within you churns with indignation. The never-ending chatter of the birds only makes it worse. You can feel rage clawing at your throat. How dare he make such a decision for you? You are his heir, and the creed will shape the very future of your reign. Your father knows he looks weak, but hasn't he shown weakness and cowardice by running from his duty to the empire and the gods? Is he not ashamed before all the Tempests, including those who've passed on and those who are yet to be born? The birds grow quiet for a moment, startled by the force of your words. Your father's response comes with a calm firmness you did not expect. I had to make the choice on my own, Jerian. In all the world, I alone know what it means to be emperor. There was no point in debating it. No one can resist the temptation of power. I know you cannot understand me now, but I ask you to trust me. The creed will be put into motion, son. The shape it takes will be up to you and Cornelius, and the others too. This is what the council is for, to help the representatives of the various estates find common ground. Forgive me, and please accept the choice I have made. I mean, I get what he's saying, and I understand it. But it's also a very shitty thing to turn around and be like, well, I couldn't handle the power, therefore I don't want anybody else to have the power. You know, like, somebody's gonna have to lead at some point in time. I mean, sure, you can have like a council government or something, but there's going to be someone in power, and you're gonna push this off on everybody else because you couldn't take it. Just come on, man. You look into your father's eyes. The blood burns you from within. The voices of your ancestors rise in your mind, drowning out your thoughts. What prompted your father to make his choice? Was it self-pity or the unwavering resolve of a ruler who has borne the burden of the empire for so many years? Well, I can't give in to my wrath because it has to be greater than, or it has to be less than or equal to 7. I have it at an 8. If I would have did that, I would have gotten some legacy of the Tempest. My logic would have went down, and my will would have went down, and my relationship with Uther would have went down. I can accept this choice. If I do that, my love goes up by 1, my law goes down by 1, and my relationship with Uther goes up by 1 as well. Or I can say I'll challenge my father's decision and insist that I am right, and that will cause my love to go down and my law will go up. And oddly enough, I actually think I'm going to try to change my whole direction now, because I've been focusing on love because I want to kind of side with the elder and his love. And I was thinking that the way I would do that is by, of course, having love. It's actually quite the opposite. I have to have law. I don't know if I'll be able to recover that within time because I think I need a 7 from what I saw. Let us see. It is, yeah, the elder's love. I need less than or equal to 7. Oh, okay. So actually, I'll be fine. Yeah, I should be fine. I can't do the youngest love. I was kind of confused by that for a second because I thought I had to have at least a 7 and I was going to be highly pissed. So, let's see. I guess I will continue on this, and having said that, I will accept his will. But I do think this is very dumb to a certain degree. These reforms are necessary and there are changes that needs to be made, but good Lord, I really wish he was not this irresponsible. Fine, whatever. Teeth clenched, you draw in the damp evening air. You exhale slowly, letting go of the last of your rage. Then you offer your hand to your father. Uther clasps it tightly. Thank you, son. Though you do not understand me now, you still trust me and my decision. I cannot tell you how much that means to me. Oh, I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. Uther turns away, wiping his eyes with his fingers. You walk toward the cage, reaching into the silver bucket and scattering some seed for the birds. They quiet down as they peck at their food. Your father stands behind you and hugs you tightly around the shoulders. Yeah, get off of me. I think in the next playthrough that I do, I am going to be a Tyrannus Archnian, because good Lord. Okay, we're almost at the end of chapter 3. Alrighty, Imperial Affairs. So, of course, I could do Restoration of the Crypt. This would give me some Legacy of the Tempest. My will would go down by 1, and my blood would go up by 1. Don't think I need to do that. I could get some instructors. This will help some of my stats. My logic will go up by 1. Wouldn't have any passion. My diplomacy, management, and scholarship would all go up by 1. Is anything else going up? Okay, just that. And I also could turn around and do relations with vassals. This would give me some power of the Tempest, but I don't think I necessarily need to do that right now. It would push it up into prosperity, but I don't think that's a necessity right now. Let's see. I could do progress for the masses. You will invite representatives of industrial and merchant guilds to join the Society of Arts and Sciences. Wealthy commoners will be permitted to finance scientific and cultural initiatives alongside the nobility. So if I did that, progress will go up by 2. The great houses will be even more pissed, and commoners would be a lot happier. I could do League of Cannons. This would make the great houses go up by 2. Progress would go down, of course. And I can also just aid the poor. And I might do this because this doesn't really bother anybody else. And it also raises my opinion with the New Faith clergy. I don't really need anything more with them. So yeah, once I turn around and do this, I'll be 1 away from allied. Then I can get the New Faith clergy completely on my side. What else? I don't want to do, I don't think I'm gonna do any of these conservative ones just because it's not gonna really benefit me, really. It's just gonna bring down some of the progress that I've already made. And it's gonna give me points with people that it's not gonna really do anything. So I'm at a 1 right now with the old faith clergy. So it'll put me at a 3. It doesn't really do anything for me. The distinguished Arcnians aren't super pissed. They're just kind of neutral right now, so that'll be fine. And the great houses are also not super pissed. So when will they actually be pissed? They get pissed at 6. I'm at 13, so there's not really a whole lot that I should be able to do within the next few choices that will mess that up. Unless I do this, progress for the masses. And while I do kind of want to do that, I don't want too much progress too fast, because again, I'm going to get hit with stuff left, right, and center. I do remember some of the stuff I did on the side, and I got put into like a train of decisions or a train of events, and that affected things quite a bit. So let's go for Committee for Aiding the Poor. Inequality among your subjects undermines their faith in the justice of the empire and leads to frequent conflicts. Therefore, you decide to dedicate a year to addressing this issue. You assemble prominent philanthropists, compassionate priests, and trusted imperial officials to form the Committee for Aiding the Poor. First, you identify the provinces and cities where people suffer the most. You send urgent assistance to those areas, with the members of the committee overseeing its distribution. Needless to say, a one-time effort cannot change the state of affairs in the empire, but perhaps the committee will one day help the destitute overcome poverty. That kind of also helps my whole decision about turning around and removing the marketplace where the assembly area was once before, or the forum area was. Lost Peace. The red velvet upholstery on the door stands out against the white wall like someone's stuck out glistening tongue. You touch the round gilded handle with some trepidation, then stop to listen. You can hear a shrill female laugh and the ringing, almost boyish voice of your brother inside. After another moment or two of shuffling your feet, you open the door and enter Flavius's chambers. The first thing you notice is the pungent scent of tobacco. There are wisps of smoke spreading throughout the room. You stop in the doorway, a bit taken aback. A stream of light from the gap in the curtains cuts through the semi-darkness of Flavius's chambers. Candle flames curl and twist their silky tongues all around you. Most of the room is taken up by a wide, unmade bed, its red sheets tossed about haphazardly. There's a half-empty bottle of sparkling wine on the coffee table, along with 2 golden flute glasses, a juicy slab of meat on a tray, and a cut glass ashtray holding the cremated remains of the previous night. Flavius sits sprawled in a big armchair clad in an untied silk robe. He absent-mindedly twirls the holder of his lit cigarette in his thin fingers while toying with the hair of a naked courtesan sitting on the floor by his feet. When the girl notices you, she coquettishly flicks a stray lock of hair out of her face and turns toward you. Flavius takes a goblet from the small table and offers it to you. Purple gleams shimmer in his mischievous eyes. Jerian, brother, how do you like my new quarters? The room once belonged to Emperor Augustus. They say he lay on this very bed with his daughter until she smothered him with a pillow. Oh, okay. Flavius gives you a wide smile and takes a big gulp of his wine with relish. You tell him that you were hoping to have a serious conversation with him in private. Rolling his eyes, your brother makes a smooth gesture at the courtesan. The girl sits up ramrod straight. Her face grows stony and her eyes cloud over before she falls to the floor like a discarded doll. How rude of you to send Giara away. But I get it. Such beauty can indeed be distracting. I will give her to you if you want. Later, after I've had my fun myself. Oh, God. You inform your brother that the council is about to start drafting the creed, which may radically change the position of the Tempestuses. You want to know Flavius's opinion of your father's decision to limit your family's power in this way. Flavius abandons his seat and ambles over to you on unsteady legs. You smell musky perfume and tobacco on him. He puts a hand on your shoulder and smiles, giving you a long, searching look. I do not care about this, brother. Aren't you tired yet of worrying over nonsense? You flinch away, saying that Flavius has had quite enough fun for now. It's time for him to start thinking about his calling in life and how he can work for the good of the Empire. You're both Tempestuses, which means that Flavius needs to stop being so selfish and put some thought into what his family needs. Flavius turns serious, as if he's had a sudden realization about his duty. He stays like that for several long moments, looking you in the eye with the utmost gravity, then doubles over and starts guffawing. He meanders back to his bed and plops down onto the mattress. Where did you pick up such rubbish? Can you still not forget the nonsense Cornelius stuffed into our heads? Flavius takes a long drag off his cigarette. His face takes on a peculiar, carefree expression. He smacks his lips and runs the tip of his tongue over them. There was exactly one notion worth listening to among all the tedious crap that came out of our uncle's mouth during his lectures. We are the rulers of this world, and by the grace of the twins, we may do whatever we desire. I don't know if that was in the teachings. And you keep bustling and raising dust like some petty shopkeeper. For shame. You are a Tempest, so behave as befits a Tempest. Our duty is not to bend mournfully beneath a burden of cares, but to rule the world and sink passionately into its gifts, as into a lover's hot womb. Oh boy. You say in confusion that Flavius seems to have forgotten your duty to the gods. By the will of the twins themselves, the Tempest line is responsible for ensuring that the world prospers and is not cast down to the foot. Flavius exhales violet rings of smoke upward with pleasure. He looks down at you condescendingly from his high couch. I think you were simply unlucky to be born first. You are the heir, and you are burdened by a weight unknown to me. Suddenly, Flavius perks up, gets off his bed, and approaches a tall mirror by the wall. Or maybe you want to abdicate. Do you now share our dear father's terrible migraines? Not to worry. They make an heir and a spare for a reason. Your younger brother will be there to pick up the slack. Good God, you couldn't pick up your damn self. Flavius meets your incensed glare with an innocent little smile and pulls his shirt off the back of a chair. You stand there as he sticks his arm through a sleeve, then fumbles with the button on the cuff, in no particular hurry. Don't get your britches in a twist, I'm just joking. By the way, you look rather poorly, brother, as though you have been tormented by sciatica for a week. You know, you need to air out your mind if you do not want to turn into a decrepit wreck like our old papa. Bad thoughts about duty and the meaning of life are born in the head of a man whose hand has not been under a woman's undergarments in far too long. I know a place. Believe me, it will shake you up so thoroughly that you will forget both duty and lot. I shall order a messenger at once to prepare the bath for our arrival. Flavius rings a silver bell and carelessly puts on a burgundy doublet. Anger clamps your jaws. Your brother deliberately made you lose your self-control. He shook the foundations in which you had always been certain. But perhaps despite his provocations, your brother is right in some way. Perhaps you should accept his offer and spend the evening with him. See the world through his eyes? Or should you go to the one who will restore peace to your soul and certainty in the path you have chosen? Yeah, I'm gonna visit Lucretia. I mean, she's my fiance, so I should. This woman right here, no. It's just absolutely not. I could visit Agatha and Agatha's cool people, but no. So, Lucretia. You bid your brother goodbye, saying that you'd love to accompany him some other time. Flavius can only shrug, but he looks openly disappointed. The excited spark goes out of his eyes. He swears at you behind your back as you're closing the door, but you don't dignify his outburst with a response. Right now, you need to see someone who will listen to you and understand you. Lucrezia will be able to put things in perspective. She'll reaffirm your view of the world. Besides, you haven't seen each other in a while. You send a runner to her, and her response is almost immediate, an invitation to the Imperial Theater. You draws closer to the theater, and your throat tightens with agitation. Lucrezia greets you in the royal box with a gentle smile. Her quiet, confident voice calms your heart. You fall silent for a moment, absent-mindedly running your hand over the velvet upholstery and peering up at the blue fresco on the vaulted ceiling. The mask of the great houses depicted on it are the silent part of the audience, their empty eye sockets trained on the stage. Lucrezia leans towards you slightly. It's fortunate you decided to send me a letter today of all days, my prince. This play is a rare event, and it always sells out. But if you don't mind me asking, why the sudden urgency? What did you want to talk about? You tell her about the trouble your newfound brother Flavius has been causing and all the unsettling ways he has changed since joining the Blood Tide. Repeating the conversation you had earlier today, you admit that it has left you feeling lost. You've started doubting the things you believe in, and you're worried that Flavius might be right. Lucrezia listens to you with great attention. I understand your doubts well. Such speeches can trouble any of us. Illusions and delusions often seek to substitute themselves for reality, to distort and pervert it. By the memory of the ancestors and the law of the twins will always help you distinguish truth from falsehood. You give Lucrezia a grateful nod. She gently covers your hand with her own, staring deep into your eyes. You can feel something warm stirring within your heart. Meanwhile, several masked actors walk out onto the stage, which is framed by a parted heavy velvet curtain. Lucrezia gracefully lifts her opera glasses to her eyes. We're about to witness the story of the Latari people. It well might assuage all your doubts, my prince, so pay attention. Wasn't that the people that... I can't remember who it was that we could romance in the first game, but there was one of the Archnean nobles, and I think she had a whole thing with the Latari. I don't remember how that turned out, but if I'm not mistaken, it didn't turn out well, so... You keep sneaking glances at Lucrezia's delicate hands wrapped in silk gloves, her slender waist, and her perfectly coiffed hair. She's so captivating, you barely notice what's happening on stage. Lucrezia turns to you with a silent question in her bright eyes. You admit that you were hoping to talk to her openly and spend some time alone, and you're not sure if the story of the Latari people would do anything to allay your anxiety. On top of that, this is your first time in theater, and you feel a little awkward. Nope. I know, my prince. You're too busy with important matters to find the time for leisure. But trust me, I've invited you here for a reason. Just be patient, and you'll get your answers. The actor in the center of the stage looks up, holding his head high, and addresses the audience in a melodious voice. He calls on you to rise up and stain your blades with the blood of the Latari traitors to protect your homeland. You can't help but sit up straighter. The actor's words have worked their way inside you, echoing within your blood. Lucrezia produces two masks and proceeds to don one of them, a green one with a prominent emerald on the cheek. She offers you a black mask decorated with a silver ribbon. Looking around, you realize that everyone is putting masks on as if on cue. Oh god, the whole mask not cheating thing. You press the mask to your face. Its lining clings to your cheeks and brow in a cool embrace. The narrow eye slits limit your view to the stage, where the actors are reciting their lines in a sing-song manner. A shiver runs down your entire body. Your fingertips start to feel numb. When you turn to Lucrezia, she sits there frozen, her head tipped forward. Something is happening. It's as though the performance is spreading out from the stage, crashing over you like a reality-distorting wave. You cast confused looks around the theater as an ethereal, silvery mist shrouds its gold-decorated walls until they melt away. You soon find that you can no longer feel your own body. Time grinds to a halt, making way for another reality pulled together from the strange silhouettes, broken lines, and jagged pieces that refuse to make sense to you. This world has completely different dimensions, and you can see thousands of its facets all at once. Those facets tremble under the onslaught of memories of past events. They hurtle towards you, pulling you in. The curtains of ages parts before you, revealing a new landscape that seems bleak to you at first, but the more you look, the more it comes to life and motion and vivid color. You could even feel the wind, which bears the scent of soil and blood. Suddenly you see horses galloping towards you, their manes billowing in the wind like spurts of black flame. They carry Latari warriors clad in thin, multi-layered robes. The Latari look tense, their eyes barely more than thin slits. The sun casts shreds of crimson across their curved blades. You witness sorcerers wielding the power of elements, archers who always strike true, cavalrymen riding peculiar beasts that seem to be woven from the wind. You live through the entire history of the Latari. Corrupted by magic and their perverse whims, they succumbed to temptation and challenged the Archneans, thus defying the twins. But the Archneans were victorious. They went on to wipe out the entire treacherous tribe, razing their ancient settlements to the ground and building their own cities atop the ruins. You feel the presence of your ancestors acutely at this moment. They're watching the play through your eyes. Being connected like this doubles the surge of pride you feel as your nation's astounding accomplishments. You rejoice and celebrate their victory together. Archneans are the only true kings of this world, and you're destined to rule over it forever, no matter who challenges you. You've just lived through the events of the play yourself. The sword in your hand was painted red by the traitor's blood. You were wounded, and the scar on your side still hurts even now. Your feelings and values have merged completely with those of the thousands of ancestors living within you. You grip Lucrezia's hand harder, and the two of you take off your masks together. The other Archneans are reclining in their seats with their heads tilted back as if in a trance. Lucrezia takes off her glove and intertwines her fingers with yours. The sensation of her slightly damp skin against your own is divine. You walk out of the theater hand in hand. Lucrezia's face seems to glow in the moonlight. Your previous doubts have vanished without a trace. You know that your understanding of the world is the irrefutable truth. Lucrezia doesn't have to ask to understand that. You watch each other in comfortable silence, with no need for words. You share a much deeper bond now. You walk Lucrezia to the front door of the mansion. There's a bit of an awkward pause. You're reluctant to leave. Finally, you dare to take Lucrezia's soft hand and kiss the back of it, pressing her palm to your cheek. Lucrezia meets your gaze, then grasps your wrist decisively and leads you inside. Haha! Well, my love went down a little bit, my blood went up a bit, but yeah. And she is now attached to me. Dishonor. Hector is barking up a storm in the hallway. You're playing ball with your beloved pet this morning, and Hector catches it mid-air every time you throw it. At one point, the overexcited dog dashes away from you and disappears around the corner. Chasing the little hellion, you end up in the gallery. Your eyes come to rest on one of the paintings on the wall. It's the portrait you and your family posed for when you had just become a tempest. The faces peering down at you from the canvas seem incredibly lifelike. Your father's half-lidded eyes have a soft look about them. Your mother stands straight and imposing, as she is wont to do, her arms crossed. Your Uncle Gaius and Uncle Cornelius stand as towering pillars of support behind your backs. And then there's you, so young, so full of hopes and expectations. You can vaguely remember your thoughts at the moment. You were so happy to finally have a family, and it seemed like the Tempests stood united in all their goals and ambitions. You can't help but chuckle at how wrong you were. The sound of hurried footsteps snaps you out of your reverie. You look away from the portrait to see Marcius Milanatus rushing towards you. There is a pinched, worried look on his face. He starts speaking before he had a chance to catch his breath. Your Highness, pardon the interruption, but there's a matter of utmost importance that requires your attention. A creeping sense of foreboding begins to stir within you. You ask Marcius what's the matter. I don't have any hard evidence yet, but I fear something unsavory is afoot. I received the report that your mother has summoned guards to her private chambers. We should go there at once. You walk down the long hallway at an increasingly brisk pace, spurred on by your mounting anxiety. Marcius can barely keep up with you. You hear him huffing and puffing somewhere behind your back. After passing a series of rooms and galleries, you enter the south wing, where the Empress's quarters are situated. You see the palace guards as soon as you turn the corner. They have their swords drawn, and your mother's door stands ajar. There are several frightened servants whispering amongst themselves in the doorway. You don't hesitate to push them aside and rush in. Servilia stands frozen, her face a stoic, frigid mask. She doesn't seem to notice you. Her bare shoulder peeks out of the undone collar of her dress. Her hair is a mess. Cornelius is half dressed too, but he has retreated to a corner of the room. His blue-tinged chest expands with each labored breath, his pupils wide. Twins is my witness. You've sullied our house, Cornelius. I shall never forgive you for this transgression. Cornelius crumples his shirt in a white-knuckled grip. His eyes dart around the room without focusing on anything in particular. You've allowed lust to rob you of your common sense. Don't even try to justify your crime. What will the Emperor say when he learns of his own brother's betrayal? I am no longer Servilia Monroe, the girl you used to love. I am your Empress, Servilia Tempest. Attempting to dishonor me is a grave offense indeed. There are notes of steel in Servilia's voice. The guards' faces are contorted with anger and revulsion. There's a film of sweat on Cornelius's brow. You've never seen your mentor lose his composure to such an extent before. His eyes bore into the Empress when he finally begins to speak. What's gotten into you, Servilia? Why are you doing this? Please stop. Weren't you the one who invited me to your chambers? Didn't you swear that the loss of your mask changed nothing? Cornelius darts a glance at you and falls silent. His clouded eyes are glistening wetly. Your mother's face doesn't even twitch. She continues in an icy tone. You're blinded by your own stupidity. All that time you spent canoodling with humans has made you just like them. No Archnean would ever do what you've done. And Father warned me about you too. I should have expected something like this. Servilia pulls herself up to her full height. Her next words come in a burst, cracking like the lashes of a whip. I demand that you step down as Great Chancellor and then leave Eterna at once. Unless you want everyone to learn of your dishonor, you will depart this instant. Please, no. You'll ruin everything. The future of the Empire and House Tempest. I don't care what happens to me. I've made my bed. But Uthar can't find out. It would kill him. Get out. Your surging blood tide finally jolts you out of your stupor. Your mother and uncle have put your family honor on the line, and they need to answer for their crimes. Your ancestors are adamant about this. Oh, crap. Okay, I can blame them both, which is probably right. You will place blame for what happened on both Cornelius and Servilia. You'll get 5 to the legacy of the Tempest. You'll lose some will, gain some blood, but both of them will be pissed at you, and they're already really, really low. I can blame Servilia. You will accuse your mother of deliberately disgracing Cornelius. Servilia Tempest Prince's opinion will go down by 1, or I can blame Cornelius. You will accuse of Cornelius of having lost his reason to passion, or I can restrain my anger. You will distance yourself from the conflict and entrust the matter to Marcius Millanatus. Can't do that because I don't have enough will, nor do I have the oath. I needed one or the other. Well then, I probably should blame them both. Cornelius has been pissing me off royally, but also my mom is just, good God. Then again, to a certain degree, I also don't want to lose any more opinion with with Cornelius. And I mean, I don't really need that +5, so let's just blame Servilia. You punch the wall, overcome with rage. How could your mother do something like this? Your blood demands vengeance, and by the twins, Servilia has given you ample reason to be angry. You don't even try to hide your disgust as you finally give your mother a piece of your mind. Her sordid affair with Cornelius is nothing short of adultery, and what she's done today is utterly reprehensible. The Empress spent years seducing Cornelius and dishonoring House Tempest, but today she has crossed the line. You're putting a stop to your mother's schemes, and you refuse to let her come between the two brothers. Her dissolute conduct has put the entire empire at risk. Servilia needs to be punished so that she never dares to think of plotting something like this again. You misunderstand, my dear. If you cut your mother off, telling her to save her excuses. You've grown tired of her lies. Your mother tried to use Cornelius's long-standing feelings to get him out of the picture. That was her true goal. This cheap, outrageous political farce could have ended in disaster. Your fury burns hotter and hotter, fueled by your blood. You can't hold it in anymore. When you turn to the guard captain, he cowers. Words burn in your throat, demanding to be said. You start giving orders. The servants who witnessed this incident are to be thrown in the dungeon. The guardsmen are to be transferred to Astinia, far away from the palace. Your uncle is to be taken to his quarters. The Empress is forbidden from leaving her chambers and is to be kept under guard until you decide what to do with her. Thank you for standing up for me, Jerian, but it won't change anything. I've made a mistake, and I'll have to face the consequences. Your uncle's voice breaks with pain and bitterness. Cornelius dresses quickly and leaves, not daring to raise his eyes. You cast a derisive glance at your mother. She looks back at you calmly, her head held high. You turn on your heel and leave without saying another word to her. The Tempest family portrait in the gallery seems to mock you as you walk past it. Oh boy. Our lovely mother, always doing stuff. I actually do believe she probably did this. Maybe working with my grandfather, but I don't know. Seems awfully convenient. March of the Callers. To Felipe El Ferro, private and confidential. Mission report dated 11th of the 5th month, year 1136. I carried out my surveillance mission this morning, and I am now reporting the results in this urgent missive. At dawn, an entire party of rebels calling themselves the Lotless marched from the port to St. Ignatius's Square, where the Inquisition was already building fires to burn witches who have violated their commandments. The procession was led by the Owl. As expected, every Lotless wore a collar similar to the ones put on witches. The few who didn't get a collar, approximately 20 people, wrapped scarves and rags around their necks. Marching in a solid, orderly column, the Lotless made a nuisance of themselves and caused various disturbances. They also shouted slogans such as "All hail the new faith," "Witches are the children of the gods, let the witches live," and "Down with the shackles of lots." They invoked Patriarch Junius Diamant's name in an attempt to abolish the lots and establish equal rights for humans and Arcanians, including nobles, commoners, and witches. Approximately 30 well-off commoners spontaneously joined the march along the way. Despite the rebels' combative attitude, the city suffered almost no property damage. Only 3 shops had their storefronts smashed. The Green Piglet Tavern reported a broken down door and 2 missing wine casks. After arrived at the scaffolds on St. Ignatius Square, the Lotless started a fight with the Inquisitors. The gendarmeries responded quickly, surrounded the area. Their commander ordered the rioters to disperse, but the Owls stuck to the plan and commanded the rebels to attack. According to the gendarmeries preliminary report, the ensuing battle resulted in 25 true deaths, approximately 30 lesser deaths. Of those who suffered true death, 18 of the Lotless, 3 of the gendarmeries, and 4 Inquisitors. There were many wounded. The surviving Lotless escaped to lie low in their safe houses. 10 of the rebel witches escaped their guards in the commotion. The Inquisition is searching nearby residents for them. It's safe to conclude that your assignment is complete. Everything went precisely according to the plan. I'm expecting to receive the Owl's report shortly. After that, we will begin rounding up the troublemakers and carrying out exemplary executions. But as you understand, restoring order in Eterna will not solve the problem of growing discontent throughout the Empire. Rebellious sentiments are taking root not only in the capital, but in other major cities as well. I conclude this report with my signature and, as a document of special importance, certified with the personal number of an employee of the Secret Chancellery, 38155 Moss. Well, rebellion is creeping up. Don't need that right now. Cornelius's fate. I fear I may not have the stats to save you, dear uncle. The lights are dim in the council chamber, the wind howling outside signifying a coming storm. The chamber looks especially somber today. The granite walls radiate cold. A massive throne for the emperor and several armchairs for his entourage of great house representatives now surround the marble table. The councilors are waiting for his majesty to arrive. Aside from that, the only vacant chair is the great chancellor's. You've never seen the great imperial council assembled in full before. Uther doesn't usually attend its sessions. The councilors tend to make their decisions without him. The master of ceremonies announces the emperor's arrival, and everyone rises from their seats in a show of respect. Uther enters the chamber. His face is majestic and stern, like a mask from the lararium. He walks, radiating power and inspiring servile awe. The councilors humbly bow their heads. Before you stands the great emperor. One can only wonder what effort it costs your father to maintain such a face. Beside Uther walks Cornelius, grim and restrained. He moves heavily and slowly, as though through a mass of water. Formal bows and greetings follow. The emperor takes his place on the throne. Cornelius steps forward and addresses everyone in the chamber. Honorable councilors, I regret to admit that my health has rapidly deteriorated. I am no longer able to perform the responsibilities of Great Chancellor, so I have come before you today to tender my resignation. As tradition dictates, I will propose a candidate for the position I am vacating. This will be my final counsel to His Imperial Majesty. I ask that Archduke Agarius Monroe be named the Empire's Great Chancellor in my stead. The councilors are silent. Their postures and faces, dictated by etiquette, remain motionless. Everyone present in the chamber knows of the disgrace Cornelius brought upon himself, but no one dares speak of it aloud. Despite all efforts, you and Marcius still fail to avoid publicity. Archduke Cornelius Tempest, you've served the Empire with honor, and I am forever grateful for your efforts. Everyone in this chamber, myself most of all, finds it regrettable that you have to leave the capital due to your poor health, but no one would dare ask more than you've already done. Archduke Agarius Monroe, I hereby proclaim you the great chancellor of my imperial council. Monroe gets up from his seat, walks up to the throne, and kneels before the emperor. Cornelius lowers his head, removes his silver dragon pendant, and hands it over to Uther. The emperor descends from the throne and puts the heavy chain around Agarius Monroe's neck. I hope you'll serve the empire well, Archduke. Let the creed created under your guidance define the future shape of the empire. The vacated position of Archnean Tribune will be filled by Gnaeus of House Metellus. You notice Monroe's lip twitch in displeasure, but he remains kneeling in obedience, not daring to question a direct order from the emperor. The rest of the counselors look confused. It seems that you're not the only one who doesn't know this Metellus person or the reason for his appointment. Everyone rises for a ceremonial bow. The emperor leaves the chamber, accompanied by his retinue. As if at a signal, the counselors' faces relax, and each takes his place at the marble table, assuming a living, natural posture. Cornelius sinks into his chair as though his spine has been removed. His shoulders go slack, and apathetic exhaustion appear on his face. He stares expressionlessly at his figures as his fingers interlaced on the table. The newly appointed Great Chancellor gives him an easy smile as he fixes his pendant. Cheer up, Cornelius. Your poor nerves are frayed enough as it is. You've done a great deal for the Empire, and now you may retire with a clear conscience. Go to your native Constanta and live for yourself. Restore your health and take up your memoirs. That's right, just take some time off for yourself, and when you come back to Eterna, you'll see how much the Empire has transformed. Maybe that will help you change some of your views. Lucius Diamant clears his throat and rises from his seat. It seems rather strange to me to suggest that a Tempest lived for himself. Cornelius used to be the overseer of Constanta. He did an excellent job. I submit a proposal for the council's consideration, to give Cornelius Tempest his old position back. No, Lucius, I can't. Please don't force me to step back into the arena. My fight is over, and I've lost. I'm leaving politics behind. It's all up to you now. Great Prefect, your suggestion can hardly be called reasonable, much like many of the bills you've tried to pass or the reforms you've proposed. I advise you to consider your statements more carefully in the future. Otherwise, I will be forced to recommend that the Emperor find another candidate for your post. Diamant turns pale and falls silent. The rest of the counselors avert their eyes. Marcius Milanatus finally breaks the tense silence. If I may, I'd also like to share a few thoughts on the fate of Cornelius Tempest. Were he a representative of any other lineage, even a great one, I would propose, forgive my bluntness, honorable confinement. Prominent political figures attract many supporters even after resignation. The opposition rallied around the former Great Chancellor Tarquinius Milanatus. I fear the same will happen now. If left at liberty, Cornelius Tempest will become the symbol of his reforms, whether he wants it or not. Under other circumstances, I would recommend placing so notorious a politician under arrest, but I cannot imagine what should be done with a member of the ruling dynasty. Perhaps the great censor of the Tempests will have a suggestion on this matter? Oh, great. I understand that, as head of the Secret Chancellery, you had to voice your concerns, but I hope we can do without such radical decisions. You pause to make sense of your own feelings. Where do you stand on this? That's when you realize how angry you are. Your fists are clenched, and you're grinding your teeth from barely restrained emotion. But that wrath doesn't stem from you. The voices of the ancestors swimming in your blood tide are cursing Cornelius. He never acted in the best interest of his fellow Archenians. He jeopardized your family name. He tried to weasel his way into the Emperor's bed, betraying his brother's trust to sate his own desires. Such dishonor must be repaid with blood. The ancestors within you demand a court of honor for Cornelius to atone for his disgrace. Oh, God. So, my options are... yeah, I can't do this. Anyway, I can send Cornelius away from the capital. I can put Cornelius on trial, or I can place Cornelius under arrest. This would give Cornelius oblivion. The power of the Tempests would lose 1. If I put Cornelius on trial, the distinguished Archenians would go up by 2. Rebellion would go up by 1. The power of the Tempests would go down by 1. Legacy of the Tempests would go up by 5. And Cornelius Tempest, I would lose 1 and he would be disgraced. But I would also have to use a sanity point for that. And I don't know if I want to do that. And I can't do this no matter what. It seems that the easiest thing out of this would probably be just to send Cornelius away from the capital. If I use another point, that's going to leave me in a very bad spot. And then on top of that, I'm probably going to lose even more. Because I'm going to lose 1 point of sanity. And then on top of that, I'm going to lose some other stats as well. I'm not even sure what I would lose this time around. Then again, this does seem to be a better option, because even though the rebellion goes up by 1, the distinguished Archenians goes up by 2. I get some legacy of the Tempests as well. Dang. I might have to do this. I would really prefer to not have 2 sanity going into the next chapter, but oh man, this is one of those moments where I feel like I might have to turn around and do that, because if I'm going to lose a point either way, I should probably try to get something out of it. At least in this case, I do get +2 with the distinguished Archenians, and I do get the 5 legacy of Tempest. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to start spending that soon, because this just kind of doesn't seem worth it. Cornelius' falls from grace was inevitable, but your input helped make sure that his liberal overtures were buried forever. Oof. That seems a bit harsh. Damn. Okay, I think I'm gonna just hold off. I think I'm gonna hold off and try not to spend any more sanity until the next chapter. I really kind of want to do this, but that seems like a bit much, because I'm only going to have 2 sanity going into the next chapter, and if I lose those, that's it. So, and I'm fairly certain I'm going to have to spend at least 1 of these. So I'm just going to send Cornelius away from the capital. I agree with Monroe's decision. The only thing I lose in this is the power of the Tempests, and then a Cornelius is exiled. So at least I don't actually lose any points with him. So be gone, uncle. You understand that sending Cornelius away from the capital is a compromise solution, and one with a number of flaws. Your uncle's disappearance from the political arena will weaken the Tempests, and exile will turn Cornelius into a symbol, one to which all those who believed in his reforms will be drawn. In the future, they may unite to act against the authority of the council. But those are tomorrow's problems. Right now, you see no better option. Gregorius Monroe carefully surveys those assembled, and having assured himself that no one else wishes to speak, summarizes the session. I'm glad we're all in agreement. The council's unity is a great sign for the empire. Archduke Cornelius Tempest, you are hereby released from the burdens of public service. We thank you for all of your years of selfless hard work. The counselors shake Cornelius's hand in turn. Your uncle looks through them with an indifferent, deathly weary gaze. All right. So the power of the Tempests goes down a bit. We are in decline, but we're still on the edge. You know, it's not terrible. We can recover from that. And Cornelius is exiled, and I got well-earned retirement. I sent Cornelius away to a remote estate. So now my uncle is away, and the emperor is also basically away. Good lord. And my grandfather rules the council and basically the empire at this point. He is essentially Tywin Lannister. Cornelius's farewell letter. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Cornelius is exiled. To Jerian Tempest, Great Censor of the Imperial Council. From Cornelius Tempest in Constanta. My dear Jerian, the climate in Constanta is far colder than in the capital, and the wind cuts straight to the bone. But as I stroke the fireplace each evening, I think fondly of my life in the capital, and it eases my heart. The road has given me time to reflect on what I want to tell you, since we never had a moment to speak openly before my departure. Now, I feel compelled to put to paper what has been weighing on my soul. I've never been afraid of what lies ahead. No matter what trials awaited me, I always forged ahead, even when it felt like the whole world was working against me. They said I was wasting my time, that my aspirations would never come to fruition, yet I never let the fear of failure stop me. It is foolish to fear what may never come to pass, yet it is just as senseless to place blind faith in a fortunate outcome. After all, hope is nothing but a belief in a favorable turn of events, one that may or may not come to pass. So I pressed on, doing what I believed was right for the Empire, and I do not regret a moment of my work. And yet, I cannot help but grieve. My life was dedicated to shaping a better future for the Empire, and now that purpose is gone. I've been reduced to the role of a powerless bystander, a mere private citizen with no power to act. I do not lament my fate, though the gods know it has been ruthless at times. In spite of it all, I believe that destiny has treated me with mercy and repaid my labors generously. Labors which, I hope, will not go to waste, even though I myself have failed. Life compels us to accept its lessons with humility, and mine is a painful one. But even if I had seen my downfall coming, quick and ignoble as it was, I will still have made the same choices. As fate would have it, I was both your uncle and your mentor. I can only hope I have done enough to prepare you to rule the Empire with honor. You did not. Still, it pains me to leave you to face the trials ahead alone. And so, despite the way we parted, I will offer my last advice on matters that must still be seen through. You know that I sought a better future for the Empire. It pains me that my vision was undone by someone I held as a friend and ally. Yet I leave Gregorius to the judgment of the younger. I refuse to let resentment take root in my heart. Still, it pains me that you and I never saw our vision through to the end. The Empire is divided, struggling between the old ways and the winds of change. Though humans hold great potential for advancement and economic influence, their lack of political power prevents them from becoming your allies. Meanwhile, the Arcanians cling to the dream of a bygone empire, an empire that will never bring back, for the flow of history cannot go backwards. In attempting to do so, they will reduce the empire to ash, yet achieve nothing. But above all, Jerian, you must reconcile the conflict between the past and the future within yourself. If you try to appease everyone, you risk being seen as an indecisive ruler, one who makes decisions on a case-by-case basis with no values of his own. An arbitrary leader with no principles to guide him will never inspire genuine trust. Without firm values, you will eventually bring ruin upon yourself, your family, and the empire. Farewell, Jerian. I have faith that you will succeed where I have failed. Your uncle and mentor, Cornelius Tempest. You know, on the one hand, it's like, yeah, this does suck that this happened to Cornelius, but also at the same time, like, I feel like the things you say are not the things that actually were. Like, if you honestly cared about, you know, me wanting to reconcile the future, you would have prepared me better. Hell, look at my brother. My brother's in an even worse situation where he's just Joffrey, basically. So, I mean, you put me in this fire along with my father too in the process, and you didn't really teach me anything. You taught me how to read and write, and that's about it. God, I didn't even have a basic understanding of some of my family. Good God. A thin strip of apple skins peel away onto the polished desk. A knife in Agarius Monroe's hand gleams, throwing slivers of sunlight onto the walls and into your eyes. We all feel the absence of Cornelius Tempest. I too regret how things turned out. Exile is a bitter fate, yet we cannot deny that the council acted in the Empire's best interest. Duty sometimes requires sacrifice. You pay little heed to the great Chancellor's speech. Your gaze remains fixed on the ornate scroll lying on the desk. It could pass for a ball invitation, yet it contains something far less pleasant. The letter from Tarquinius Milanatus asks, in very polite terms, that you either pay your debt, which have now come due, or surrender the province of Hermia to House Milanatus. With no money left in the treasury, you, as the hereditary Archduke of Hermia, find yourself in a desperate situation. But does Agarius Monroe, the newly appointed head of the council, hold the same view? With a soft rustling, the pink spiral of the skin peels away from the apple. You look at the papers lying on the table before you. What can you do? What is the right course? All right, so I can not ask the humans for a loan, nor can I sign the expropriation order. I can either hand over the lands, which will make Tarquinius Milanatus the Archduke of Hermia, and we will lose 5 the power of the Tempests. I feel like if it goes to 0, that might be a problem. Or I can violate the agreement. I will lose 1 with the great houses, 2 with the distinguished Arcanians. Rebellion will go up by 2, and Tarquinius Milanatus will be insulted. And while he is a powerful enemy to have, I think I'm just gonna say fuck him. Because, yeah, I don't really have any other options here. I would have needed... Wait a minute. Oh, I would have needed progress greater than or equal to 3 in order to ask the humans for a loan. Wonderful. And I can't even ask Agarius Monroe for a loan. You would sign the expropriation order. You will introduce an emergency tax on wealthy commoners and use it to cover the debts. That's what I got. Arcnean privilege. You upheld ancient Arcnean privilege and use force to seize the funds you needed from wealthy industrialists. This is what I would have liked to have done. Oh wait, can I do this still? Nope. I can't even spend a sanity point for it. Nope. I'm just gonna have to violate the agreement. This will put unrest up to a 6. And yeah, that's gonna be problematic. But honestly, fuck Tarquinius. I'm not giving up my lands, so YOLO. A shiver runs through you at the thought of what's to come. Your back bends, the weight of your ancestors' judgment pressing down on you like a stone slab. A painful realization dawns on you. This decision defies tradition. It will shake the very foundations of the world. Well, considering all the shit that Cornelius did, why not? With great effort, you straighten up, feeling your spine crack and snap like a dry twig. Rising from the desk, you declare that Tarquinius will not be given an inch of your land or a single speck of gold. You will grant him nothing. Monroe is taken aback by your words. Seizing the apple from Monroe's hand, you thank him for peeling it and taking a joyful bite. The apple tastes like freedom. You swipe the papers from the desk and toss them into the fireplace. Then you tell Monroe that Tarquinius Milanatus can choke on his indignation. Your Highness, this is a mistake. Worse yet, it is a crime against honor. No Arcnean in the Empire will approve of this decision. What will they think of you? If you are not true to your word, then how can you expect your vassals to be true to theirs? They can choke on it too, you say. Stunned and a little frightened, Monroe tightens his grip on his sword and backs out of your study. Stretching your limbs, you feel a sense of freedom and strength you haven't known in a long time. The half-eaten apple hits the wall with a splatter as you toss it away. Word of your treacherous actions spread swiftly throughout the Empire. Both humans and Arcneans are grumbling, yet no one dares to act, unsure of what to expect from you. Tarquinius Milanatus feigns offense, playing the part of the mistreated vassal, but deep down, he must be triumphant. He writes you a number of open letters, each trying to appeal to your honor, dignity, conscience, and so on. Unsettled by your actions, the Arcneans rally to Tarquinius' side, ready to lend him their support. You've held on to your Tempest lands, but you've lost the faith of your subjects. Was it really worth it? Meh, they'll be alright. It's not that though. That'll be fine. And I'm sure there'll be much worse things coming up that they can focus on. And now we're finna get an event of unrest. You refuse to settle your debt with Tarquinius. Maybe in the end I can fight his ass and just take his shit. And do what should have been done and just completely wipe out the Milanatuses. Cracks in the window. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Rebellion greater than or equal to 5. And it's at a 6. The gentle hues of the sunset sky are reflected in the splinters of glass strewn across the pavement. Here and there you spot dried blood among the cobblestones, some dark brown, some bluish black. You and Marcius Milanatus are walking through Angelius, a small town a day's journey from Eterna. The streets are deserted. Facades adorned with decorative reliefs are streaked with grime and soot. Storefronts are shattered. The empty windows gape at you from the houses like black wounds. Columns of smoke rise over the roofs. Several blocks are still burning. Guards march around you, keeping watch on every alley and every building. This is what rebellion leaves behind: emptiness and devastation. The scene is the same everywhere, both downtown and in the poor neighborhoods. Just a month ago, Angelius was a peaceful, thriving city, But yesterday, hundreds of humans and dozens of Archnians died on these streets. This is not a revolt against the Empire or the throne. It is hatred spilling out onto the streets. A war of all against all. There's something in Marcius's voice that makes you turn away from the devastated street and study his face. The Privy Councilor's features are sharp, his eyes darkened. He has briefed you on many matters, but this event seems to have hit him harder than most. You ask Marcius to tell you what sparked the disturbances. The municipal court handed down a sentence against an Archnian from a minor house. For violating a young woman and killing her brother, the Archnian was stripped of his sword. This sparked outrage among both the high nobility and the common folk. The former resented that the Archnian was tried by the prefecture instead of being judged by the court of honor or his suzerain's authority. The latter saw the verdict as far too lenient. An exchange of accusations quickly escalated into skirmishes and bloodshed. Skeptical of this account, you ask him how one court ruling could have caused so much turmoil. Does the Privy Councilor detect any hint of a planned insurrection in these riots? There was no conspiracy, and no one tried to challenge the Tempest's authority, if that is what you're asking. Your subjects do not see you as an enemy, my prince, yet I'm concerned that they are beginning to see no strength in you either. When people lose faith in their ruler, when they see no justice in the laws and sense weakness in those in authority, they will take up arms and try to restore order themselves. The riots in this city are a sign that our control of the empire is slipping. This is why we must act with caution in our policies and refrain from radical measures. No estate should feel excluded or forgotten. Above all, those who openly defy our laws and authority must be punished without leniency. Otherwise, many other cities will be ravaged by uprisings such as this one. The facade of the destroyed city hall looms before you. It seems turned inside out. Massive doors ripped from their hinges, pieces of ornate railings littering the steps, shards of stained glass, fragments of smashed marble statues. Above the entrance, the black and silver Tempest flag flies in a cruel mockery, raised in anticipation of your arrival. You ask the Privy Councilor what he thinks should be done now that the riots have subsided and the city has been restored to order. Under most circumstances, we could have left the matter to the prefecture, but presently, I believe that it is important to turn Angelius into an example for the entire empire. Have the Legion cordon off the city, impose curfews, and put troops on the streets. We will carry out searches and sweeps, stage a few public executions, and remind the populace that authority and the monopoly on violence belongs to the Tempests. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. However, if I pardon the city, this gives us quite a bit. Yeah, because this would give us the human nobility being allied. Would have been nice a little bit ago. The distinguished Archnians will be neutral, commoners also neutral and such. Not a bad, not a bad option. Diplomacy goes up to 7. I'm already in the depth though. My opinion with Marcius Milanatus goes down by 1, but this isn't a bad trade-off. I do like the thought of the rebellion going down by 1, but maybe I can finagle that with a different decision. So yeah, let's pardon Angelius. This is probably going to bite me in the ass. Shaking your head, you reply that Angelius will not be punished. The Privy Councilor is right. People only take matters into their own hands when they no longer trust the Empire to protect their interests. That means that punishment is not the answer. The only way to prevent future riots is to regain the trust among the estates. You stride resolutely toward the city hall. Climbing the steps, you examine the signs of rage unleashed on the building. Defaced paintings ripped from the walls, smashed furniture, carpets soaked in blood. You will never let the Empire become like this. As you pass a broad window, you notice that the glass is riddled with cracks. The city beyond looks like a jigsaw puzzle of jagged fragments. Nevertheless, you will do all you can to make what is broken whole again. Turning towards Marcius, you command him to assemble the townsfolk in the square for your address. The clemency bestowed by the Crown Prince should strengthen their loyalty and restore faith in the Tempests. Alright, so we are now allied with the human nobility. The distinguished Archnians, they're kind of okay with us. But they're on the same par pretty much with the commoners, so yeah, they're just kind of neutral at the moment. But I guess we're gonna have to lean more towards the human nobility and the commoners, which I really didn't want to do, but the Archnian side is a little harsh. Just a little harsh. Marcius is still okay with me, so that's fine. In the dead of night, your windows are shut, but you can still hear the wind howling outside. The lights are dim in the still semi-darkness of the palace. You walk down a hallway, wading through the shadows in a feeble attempt to escape the too bright moonlight that illuminated your bed. You are too anxious to sleep. You pause to contemplate the familiar solid oak door before stepping into a room that used to instill awe in you when you were a child. Cornelius's office. The massive carved hardwood desk, the intricate armrests of the chair, every detail in this room is a reflection of your uncle's personality. It's as though he's imprinted some part of himself onto the furniture, the walls, even the air itself. The open shelves are covered with a thin layer of dust. There's an inkwell lying upended on the floor. You sit in your uncle's chair. The strips of hardwood flooring beneath your feet appear silvery in the moonlight. You notice that the desk drawer isn't shut all the way. Careful not to damage anything, you pull out several crumpled up sheets of paper, your uncle's work. You see drafts for the Code of Laws, unfinished reform proposals. The sprawling, slightly slanted handwriting brings a sad smile to your face. You tried to train yourselves to write the same way at one point. Cornelius was the first person to talk to you when you were still a child. Back then, you viewed him as some sort of higher being. He was the one who led you towards your future. He became your mentor and even your friend. You didn't always see eye to eye. Sometimes you outright defied him. But your uncle loved you despite all the differences, and now he's gone. But Cornelius himself is to blame for what happened. Although to his credit, he accepted responsibility for his misdeeds and voluntarily left Eterna. Perhaps it is for the best. Leaving Cornelius at court would have meant undermining the reputation of the entire family. Your heart sinks at the thought of your family. What's going to become of you all? The blood of the Tempests has practically devoured your mother, robbed her of ties to her birth name. She seems to be turning into a completely different person, someone cruel and heartless. There can be no doubt that she set Cornelius up. You remember the smiles she used to give you, the way she'd run her warm hand through your hair to fix it. But ever since Archduke Monroe took Servilia's maiden mask, her face has become more austere, her voice harsher. Whenever you do find the time for each other, your conversations seem cold and empty. It's as though your mother can't even see you for who you are anymore. Your heart aches with a sudden feeling of loneliness and longing. Your mentor is gone, your mother is playing her own game, and your father, well, he's not been getting better for a long time. He entrusted all the Empire's affairs to the Council. Moonlight streams down the palace towers, filtering through the windows and skipping along the smooth surfaces of mirrors and chandeliers. You hear a bird cry in the shadowy depths of the garden. This will be a long night. You get up and leave Cornelius's office. The key is still in the keyhole. After a moment's hesitation, you lock the door. The key turns with a dry crack. Faith for blood. The unpleasant but familiar weight of a fur-lined mantle settles onto your shoulders. The servants spread the train on the floor. Today is the day of the annual rite in which you honor the holy pact at the Temple of the Twins. Terentius Ogriff is a silent shadow at your side. You don't need any reminders from him anymore. You've done all this before. You know how it works. You will step onto the platform before the jubilant crowd, let your blood flow, and fill the mortal world with divine love. You're not afraid to do something wrong because you don't feel anything at all. It was the same last year and the year before that, so you know nothing will change today. You'll watch the crowd's rapturous response and feel nothing but envy. Such is the fate of the primate. It's been like this for many generations. Still, you can't help but wonder if this is the right way. Stop. Just for a moment, you hear a strange voice in your head. You wonder if you imagined it. The buckle is fastened at your throat, while you listen with effort, hoping the voice will sound again. Stop. You can't stop thinking about it as you walk to the main chamber of the temple. That voice doesn't belong to the blood tide. It sounds deep and sad, and you've never heard it before. Who is it? Stop. Questions dart through your head like birds that have accidentally flown into a chapel. Who's speaking to you? And why does he want to stop you? The crowd greets your appearance with joyful cries, then falls still in trembling expectation. Stop. You raise your hand, but then a cold wave rolls through your body. The world fractures like a dropped jigsaw puzzle. The colored shards swirl in a vortex and carry you away. The noise of the crowd shouting "Faith for blood" recedes and fades. When the whirlwind dissipates, you notice that the raised hand doesn't belong to you. The limb obeys you, but it looks different. Its fingers are wrapped around the hilt of a sword. Your feet are clad in sandals, and instead of a crowd, you're looking down at a soul-kneeling figure. The elder, your twin. Please stop. He's the one who's been calling out to you, his younger brother. He's begging, but his voice is flat with resignation. The realization finally blurs the line between you and the younger. You feel overwhelming righteous rage rise from the depths of your soul. You have the power and the willingness to uphold the law at any cost. You cannot stop now, even if it means spilling the blood of your kin. Please stop, your brother pleads one last time before your sword pierces his flesh. His voice grows silent. Silver blood gushes from the wound at his blood as his body slumps to the ground. That blood turns into creeping mist before it has the chance to touch the floor. The silver haze of divine love spreads outward, filling the square, the city, the entire world. You see humans and Archnians both near and far, all weeping with joy. Love rises up to the rooftops and settles in the crevices in the ground. It suffuses the people with every breath they take, seeping in through their eyes and their skin. Hands outstretched, people rush through the sparkling mist to the elder's body. Everyone joins the frenzy, men and women, young and old, father and mother. Their faces gleam with rapture. They claw at the god's body, tearing out pieces of flesh and grabbing whatever they can to inhale more love. The part of you that bears the name Jerian Tempest can barely keep from crying out. Suddenly, everything stops. The ecstatic screams give way to pealing silence. When you lower your hands, you see only ancient stonework. And a thin old man, Eric Tempest, kneeling before you. Your words have knocked him to the granite floor. He's the picture of humility now. You watch your hand lightly touch his brow, drawing a sigil in silver light, your divine blood. You tell Eric that the law will always be above love in this world. To honor that fact, the Tempests will have to kill the elder in their blood every year, spilling his essence into the world. Your fingers finish drawing the circled cross, the symbol of the pact between the twins and the Tempests. Eric whispers, bowing his head in supplication, blood for faith. The crowd below your platform exuberantly bellows, faith for blood. Snapping back into the present and your own body is almost painful. Your raised hand is a breath away from the sword at the younger statue. Everyone is waiting for you to bestow the miracle of love upon them. Unconditional, all-encompassing love. Love that is indifferent and brought into this world by violence, poured into the world from the body of a fallen god. Then, suddenly, it all becomes clear to you. The divine blessing, symbolically poured out to confirm the pact, also seals the triumph of law over love. Time and again, the Tempests butcher the elder, who is part of your blood tide. Will you fulfill the duty of the primate, knowing the truth? Please stop. So, I can perform the rite, grace the people with love by ritually spilling the blood of the elder once again. I will get the younger's law. Jurisprudence will go down by 1. Dogmatism will just kind of be there. Rebellion will go down by 1. Love will go down by 2, but law will go up by 2. Or I can disrupt the ritual. You will refuse to shed the elder's blood and leave the flock without blessing. And in the process, I will get the event the elder's love. Jurisprudence will go up by 1, love will go up by 2, law will go down by 2. So we shall disrupt the ritual. Faith for blood. You slowly move your hand away from the stone sword. The sharp blade won't be painted with blood today. The elder will live. The crowd falls into confused silence, but you don't care. You are a Tempest. Your will is paramount. No crowd, priests, no traditions. Nothing can compel you to commit this violent act. You turn to leave and almost stagger from the sudden rush of emotion. Love sweeps over you in a soft, warm wave. It feels like a gentle hand on the back of your head, like a fresh summer rain on your skin, like the first time you realized you could control sunlight with a shiny bit of glass. Happiness fills you like never before. You retreat to the inner rooms of the temple. The discontented murmurs roll right off your back. You feel like a baby rocked in his cradle to the sound of gentle music. You want to skip along, but at the same time, you want to tread softly so as not to squander the aching tenderness that fills your whole being. You love everything in this world, from the clouds in the sky to every little blade of grass, from the dragonflies perched on that grass to the pale, faraway peaks of Asthenia. Did you even know what love was before this? Well, now you do. And I have preserved the elder's love in my soul. Jurisprudence went up. We're getting close. We're getting closer. And my love went up quite a bit. All right, so we are at the end of the chapter now, and we will be moving on into chapter 4. Now, I am going to go ahead and go into this. I'm not sure how long this is. And again, while I have played some of this, I didn't actually pay attention to anything that was in there. I do know that I died in this chapter, but that was about it. So, but yeah, I'm not aware of really any of the events for real, except for one with Camille. That's probably not gonna happen this time around. And if it does, I'm probably not gonna actually be able to go towards her in that sense, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So it's going to be interesting because, again, I don't have overpowered stats and I don't know how this is going to work out, so we'll see. I hope I don't end up dying. It's not looking great though, but I will say I think the rebellion point at this point that I was in the side chapters that I did, I think it was actually higher because I pretty much had the country in a state of equality and all that stuff. But again, that pissed off too many people. Anywho, chapter timeline. Cornelius's era is over. From now on, you are the only Tempest whose voice will ring across the council chamber. That means that being a mere player is no longer enough. It's time to become the man who writes the rules of the game. Okay, so I'm pretty much adept at everything. Probably should improve these. And I have a lot of love, not that much will, a lot of logic. And we've made a lot of progress. Well, not actual progress in this sense here, but equality is moving quite a bit. Jurisprudence is moving quite a bit as well. Guess the next thing I do needs to be focused on progress in order to get that up to 3. And again, well, no, because these only go up at 5, so I won't be able to trigger any events with them anytime soon. And I also need to get the rebellion down. The human nobility love me. They are allied with me. I'm very close to getting the commoners. I'm also very close to getting the new faith clergy. And I'm also pretty close to getting the distinguished Archdeacons, which is kind of funny. You completed the 3rd chapter and dealt with the Tempest's death. Yeah, dealt is a way of putting it. So now we move on to the Creed, and then after that it is the Millennial Senate. Now I do believe in these 2 chapters the game mechanics kind of change a bit, but we'll cross that road when we get there.
The games are over. Your mentor has fallen. Your father is powerless. The future of the Empire is yours to shape. Now, you are alone, with no one to rely on. Now the decisions are yours to make. The player you face is far more experienced and skilled than you. To write the future, you must know what you want. What do you want? The words you write here will define the world's future, its creed, what it believes in, the rules it lives by.
Alrighty, chapter 4, the Creed. Alrighty, you are one of those destined to shape the future of the Empire. Your Empire? It's up to you to create your own creed and defend it before the Council, to devise a law that will stand above Imperial authority itself. Do you have allies in this game? Will you preserve the legacy of your ancestors? Will you have the resolve to manifest your will? And most importantly, will you lose your very self in the struggle? Okay, so the events we have at the story's end is finale, the Empire of the Elder. You let Uthar don the Elder's mask and embody his spirit. Huh. Interesting. But it looks like he has shattered hopes, so I may not be able to even do this. Onward to new shores, you accepted Ferdinand's offer to leave the blessed Archnean Empire. I figured he would have been done this, but whatever. Okay, the Imperial Creed, the empty seat. You no longer take part in the Imperial Council. Collapse of the Council. You failed to maintain unity within the Council, leading to its collapse. The Great Chancellor and the Councilors no longer govern the Empire. Then who does? Jerian's Creed. You refused to support the Great Chancellor and created your own creed instead. Council obedience has to be greater than or equal to 3. It's at 5. Or less than or equal to 7. It's at a 5. So if I can keep it at that, then I already meet those requirements. Agarius Monroe cannot have power in the council. Agarius Monroe has to be displeased with the council. Cannot have tyranny of the Tempests, human tyranny, or Archnean tyranny. So the only thing right now I need in order to trigger this is to have Agarius Monroe displeased with the council. Interesting. Monroe's creed, you supported the Great Chancellor together. You have forced a creed that will strip humans of all power and restore Archnean glory. I actually hold every single thing required, so all conditions are fulfilled. Then there's Monroe's dictatorship. I need a council obedience greater than or equal to 5. I mean to 8. It's at a 5 right now. Or Agarius Monroe, if he has power in the council. You stepped aside and let Agarius Monroe take command of the Empire. With his new authority as dictator, the Great Chancellor has now assumed absolute power. Don't know if I want that. Still kind of want my power. You get a little shifty there. That is an ambitious man, because I mean, your daughter is already the Empress, and your, grandkids and such is still your blood, but I guess they look at things differently here. The Empire's primary code of laws, they're drawn up by the Council and formally announced at the Millennium Senate. It will define the political future of the nation. So we have on religion. We can have freedom of religion. Imperial law shall not restrict freedom of religion. Subjects will be able to worship any gods they choose. Required support, Lucius Diamant, Gnaeus Metellus. Old faith clergy will go down by 3. New faith clergy will go down by 1. Human nobility will go up by 2. Commerce will go up by 2. Okay. Equality between the two churches. The doctrines of the old and new faith shall be proclaimed equal. Imperial law shall prosecute only those who reject the twins altogether. Required support, Ovidius Lucilius. Old faith clergy will go down by 2. New faith clergy will go up by 3. And then there's old faith dogma. The doctrine of the old faith shall become the sole ecclesiastical canon, and any deviation from its dogma shall be prosecuted under imperial law. Requires support, none. Great houses go up by 1. Old faith clergy go up by 3. New faith clergy goes down by 2, and commoners by 1. I'm surprised there isn't a choice to just straight up have only the new faith, but I guess technically that would be, it's weirdly enough, would kind of be the freedom of religion, but that just kind of pisses off both religions. Okay. On the rights of Archneans, we can have equality before the law. Archneans and humans shall be equal before imperial law. The prefecture's court will be equally strict with those of red and blue blood. Literally. Required support, Gnaeus Metellus, Terentius Ogrif. The great houses would go down by 2. Distinguished Archneans would go down by 1. New faith clergy would go up by 1. Our human nobility up by 2. Commoners will go up by 2. Okay. Archnean privilege. Archneans shall be subject to imperial law, but blue blood privileges shall be taken into account when determining their guilt and punishment. Distinguished Archnean support would go up by 2. And then there's Archnean immunity. Archneans shall be exempt from imperial law. The judgment of their crimes and the measure of their punishment shall rest, as it always has, with their sovereign and the ancestors who dwell in their blood. The great house's opinion of me will go up by 2. Distinguished Archnean's opinion will go up by 1. Humans nobility and the commoners would go down by 1. On the rights of humans, grant all estates the right to powers. Humans shall retain the right to pass down their noble titles or receive them for services rendered. All estates shall be allowed to own land and engage in governance. The required support is Lucius Diamant. Great houses will go down by 3. Distinguished Archneans will go down by 2. Old faith clergy would go down by 2. New faith clergy would go up by 2, and commoners would go up by 3. That would kind of cancel out some of these other ones if I choose to go too far with these. Preserve human nobility. Humans shall retain the rights to pass down their noble titles or receive them for services rendered. Only nobles shall be allowed to own land and engage in governance. So the great houses will go down by 1. Old faith clergy will go up by 1. Human nobility would go up by 1 as well. Or we could prohibit human nobility. Humans shall lose the right to pass down their noble titles or receive them for services rendered. They shall be forbidden to own land or engage in governance. So yeah. The great houses would go up by 3. The new faith clergy would go down by 1. Human nobility would go down by 3. Commoners would go down by 2. So probably not doing that one. On the form of government, we can have a republic. The Tempests shall abdicate and cede their authority to the Great Quorum, members of which are to be determined later. Required support is Lucius Diamant and Agorius Monroe. So that's what he wants. Distinguished Archneans will go up by 1. Old faith clergy will go down by 2. New faith clergy will go up by 2. You can have a limited monarchy. The emperor shall rule together with the Great Quorum, a council of influential Archnean families from across the empire. Required support, none. The great houses will go up by 2. Distinguished Archneans will go up by 1, and the old faith clergy will go down by 1. So this is just a more limited version of what I currently have. And then we can have an absolute monarchy. The emperor shall retain unlimited authority. Required support is Avidius Lucilius. Great houses would go down by 1. Old faith clergy would go up by 2. I am kind of torn because to a certain degree I kind of want a republic, but then I also kind of feel like we need to retain power too. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this just yet. And on House Tempest may change after the vote on the 4th article. Abdication of the Tempests. The Tempests shall renounce their worldly and secular power and assume the leadership of the Church of the Twin Gods. The next ruling dynasty shall be elected from among the great houses. Required support, Avidius Lucilius. The great houses go up by 2. Distinguished Archneans go up by 1. The old faith clergy goes down by 2. Human nobility goes down by 1, and commoners go down by 1. That's interesting. Tempests as a great house. The Tempests shall lose the right to pass down their right to rule. Each future emperor shall be elected from representatives of all the great houses. Quiet support none. The great houses go up by 1. Distinguished Arcanians go up by 1. Old faith clergy down by 1. Commoners down by 1. Or the Tempests as the ruling dynasty. The Tempest dynasty shall retain the exclusive right to the imperial throne. Great houses will go down by 1. Old faith clergy will go up by 1. So I'm guessing I can't have a republic, but then also have like the Tempests as a great house. Huh. Yeah, because I'm kind of curious, because I wouldn't mind doing a republic situation if I could do the Tempests as a great house. But I'm also guessing that there isn't going to be an emperor period. It's just going to be a straight up, yeah, the Tempests shall abdicate and cede their authority to the Great Quorum, members of which are to be determined later. So yeah, this isn't going to be like, you know, the United States where you have the House, the Senate, and then you have the presidency or whatever. This would just be a straight up House and Senate, or in this case, the Great Quorum. Or like in our case, the Congress. And then limited monarchy, again, essentially the same thing, except you would just have the emperor still there, but limited in its power. So I guess maybe I could do like a limited monarchy and then the Tempests as a great house. I'd be willing to make that. But I'm kind of in between. I'm kind of between either I need full power or some power, but we'll see how this goes. I'm saying all this and I'm acting like I'm gonna make it through this chapter. I have yet to have made it through this chapter. A farewell to Gaius. Glass crunches beneath your feet. A stale, sour odor permeates the air. You push an empty bottle with the tip of your shoe. There are several more just like it by a fireplace, which has gone dark. Gaius is sitting perfectly still in an armchair in the middle of the dimly lit dining room. He looks straight ahead, staring at the wall. He doesn't seem to notice you. Camille storms out of the room. On her way out, she gives you a staggeringly sharp glance that leaves you breathless. She hesitates for a moment, as if waiting for Gaius to stop her. Then, with a furious twirl of her dress, she walks out and slams the door behind her. This isn't my fault. You tread with caution through the shards of shattered plates and puddles of spilled wine, grabbing a chair as you go. You set it down across from Gaius's armchair. Your uncle looks terrible, as crumpled as the coat lying in a heap on the floor beside him. His shirt is half undone, with several red stains blooming on it. Gaius squints at you, then chuckles and puts one of the intact glasses in front of you. He pours you some wine. Maintaining an unflappable facade, you ask him what he's celebrating. Uther and the council have bestowed upon me the distinguished title of Overseer of Magra. I am to replace Archduke Tarquinius Millenatus. May he fall to the foot of the pillar. You take a sip and ask if this new title is what has brought on the melancholic fit and subsequent raid on the wine cellar. Gaius looks up at you with a dour expression on his face. I'm not doing well right now, Jerian, that much is true, but my condition echoes the state of our empire. We are careening toward a chasm, like a carriage with a broken axle. Monroe is about to seize power in the council. The emperor is preoccupied with his birds and his garden. The Arcanians and humans are at each other's throats, and I'm about to be carted off to the lair of the Millenatuses, where I am to guard snakes in the desert. I would not have left for anything, if only I had any other choice, but Tarquinius' appetites are only growing. He sees that we are weak, so he's preparing his poison and his dagger. He may be raising an army. One of us has to be there. The council and the great chancellor are sending me to Magra unarmed, and they seem to be doing it on purpose. Camille wants to go with me. I forbade it. I don't know what angered her more, my refusal or the fact that I called her a burden in my anger. Oh, yeah, that might be a bit of a problem. Gaius falls silent. The half-empty bottle slips from his fingers. He seems to be looking through you, lost deep in his own thoughts. I do so wish that Cornelius was still here. He and I were always there for each other. My brother wanted to enact reforms, to strengthen the Tempest, to write a creed that ensured justice for all in the Empire. And what has become of him? He won't even see Monroe trample his work, his legacy into the ground. And I am powerless to stop him. You know, you were kind of against a lot of the stuff that he wanted. I mean, I guess you didn't necessarily care so long as the Archneans kept their role, but like, how could they in this situation? Gaius slumps back into his chair with a sullen look in his eyes. Despite the wine and soiled clothes, he doesn't seem intoxicated. Instead, he seems sick and beaten. He says nothing for a while as he collects his thoughts. Then he continues. I'm off to Magra tomorrow to deal with Tarquinius Milanatus and his schemes. In the meantime, you will have to handle everything that's happening in the capital. So let's skip the pleasantries. The situation is dire. Uther has transferred rule of the Empire to the Council and the new Great Chancellor, who wants the Archnean Republic reborn as much as Cornelius wanted equality. If left unchecked, Monroe will have the Council under his thumb and tear the Empire down, sending us back to our glorious past when Archneans killed humans and each other on a whim as councils and senators tore the nation to shreds. You say that you could always remove Monroe from his post of Great Chancellor, just as Tarquinius and Cornelius were removed before him. Yeah, okay. No, Jerian. Monroe is a necessary evil, the only hand strong enough to keep the Empire in line. Without him, the Council will fall apart, dooming us to the chaos of a power vacuum. Should that come to pass, the creed will lose all meaning. You're gonna have to walk a razor's edge, preserve the unity of the Council, keep the Great Chancellor's ambitions in check, complete the creed. Cornelius believed that we must have sensible laws if we are to have a future, and I cannot agree more. Think about the counselors. Which relationships do you want to foster, and whom do you wish to put in his place? Get the council behind you and bring forth a creed that reflects your vision. Yours, not Archduke Monroe's or anyone else's. As for me, I'll try not to vanish into the sands of Magra. Gaius smiles wearily. That bitter wrinkle in the corner of his mouth makes him look like your father. You thank your uncle for his warning and ask him what troubles him so about his imminent departure. Could Tarquinius really challenge the rule of the Tempests? Where have you been this entire time? Rule relies on law and power. The law is on my side, but power. The council wants me to lead the Magran Legion. For centuries, it has been led by Tarquinius Milanatus. I assume that this host will greet me at the city gate in a welcoming formation, with their spears pointed at my chest, and I will arrive with nothing but my rapier and a couple of servants. The Great Chancellor has done his best to turn my trip into a chapter out of an adventure novel. To have a fighting chance against the Tarquiniuses, I need a loyal army of my own. Soldiers, equipment, supplies. But the great strategist, with Monroe's helpful counsel, no doubt, has denied my petition and refused to grant me so much as a single cohort. You realize that you could help your uncle without involving Lucilius, the Great Chancellor, or the Council. You are still the Archduke of Hermia, after all. The legions of that province have sworn fealty to you personally, and they will go with Gaius if you order them to. Gaius smiles, attempting to project resolve, but it's clear to you that behind that smile is helplessness. You think back to the times you felt the same crushing powerlessness, when you were backed into a dead end. Now you see your uncle in the same position. He seems so much like you now. Okay. Oh, thank God I have some power of the Tempests, because I may need it. So, I can either send in the Hermian Legion, Distinguished Arcanians will go up by 2. The power of the Tempests go down by 1. The Council of Obedience go down by 1. Gaius will have the Legion, but Ovidius will go down by 1. I can refuse Gaius. The Council of Obedience goes up. Diplomacy goes up, but my opinion with Gaius goes down. Or I can pressure the Council. I can convince Lucilius to send one of his legions to support Gaius. If I do that, rebellion goes up by 1. The power of the Tempest goes down by 1. The Council Obedience goes down by 1. But Gaius's opinion goes up by 1 as well. That does not seem great. So I will send in the Hermian Legion. I don't want to piss off Ovidius, but in this case, I also don't want Gaius going in there without absolutely nothing. So, then in the Hermian Legion. You tell your uncle that he has no need to convince Lucilius. You are the Archduke of Hermia, and your legion will go to Magra with him. Your officers will be happy to serve a Tempest, especially one who exemplifies Arcanian honor and valor. Gaius looks at you in disbelief. Then he rises from his chair and grasps your hand firmly in his. The tension is finally released from his shoulders. I would not dare to ask you for this. I understand how important your relationships with the counselors are right now, but I'm grateful to you, Jerian. Now tell me, how soon will the Legion be ready? You respond honestly. Raising an army on such short notice will not be easy. It will incur some expenses. You may even have to borrow some funds, but the Legion will be ready as soon as possible. Gaius strides decisively across the room. He seems animated, as though some measure of hope for what the future might bring has been restored to him. I thought I had nobody I could trust in the capital, Jerian. See now that I was wrong. I'm sure that you will see your work done in the council, just as I am sure that I will do mine in Magra. Perhaps things aren't quite as dire as I had feared. I'm sorry, I have to rest and clean up myself before I leave. Nobody must see me as I appeared before you today. Gaius approaches you and wraps his arms around your shoulders. He shuffles in place for a moment as if wanting to ask you about something else. There's just one more thing. Camille. She's always getting involved in all sorts of trouble. Look after her for me while I'm away. I'm worried about her. Yeah, Camille. You agree with well-hidden enthusiasm. You're drawn to Camille, and the idea of spending time with her appeals to you. It's not yet clear if you are the trouble Gaius is so concerned about. You leave and close the door behind you. You've got a lot to think about and even more to do. I'm not gonna mess with Camille. I am going to be loyal to my fiance. She has been quite helpful to me. All right, so we have debates in the council. We need to kind of get this back up though, so I'm gonna have to see a couple future things. And I'm gonna have to give Ovidius a few things as well, hopefully. That sucks. But usually whenever I do something that Agorius likes, Ovidius likes it too, so hopefully I can get 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, Gaius assumed leadership of the Imperial Legion. God, my father's useless. Accusations against Junius Diamant. A letter to Junius Diamant, Patriarch of Astinia, sent by Great Prefect Lucius Diamant, sealed by a broken wax seal. Sealed by a broken wax seal previously opened. Dear brother, it is with a heavy heart that I must convey to you the horrible news that has reached me. You refuse to appear at the sacred tribunal of the Inquisition in Eterna, and I completely understand why. There's no doubt in my mind that the accusations levied against you are false. No one in their right mind would ever believe that Patriarch Junius Diamant would harbor rebels, foment uprisings in the capital, or incite the lotless to violence against the clergy. However, your flagrant disregard for the hierarchy of the church was the last straw for the Pontifex Maximus. Terentius will petition the great strategist to send legions to Ostenia and deliver you to Eterna by force. We are a step away from the church schism erupting into a full-blown holy war. Brother, I implore you to rein in your pride and stand before the sacred tribunal. I swear that your freedom and your reputation will not be trodden upon. But you must prove your innocence. Prove that the accusations made against you are baseless. Prove it before the judges and witnesses. I can be your middleman in all dealings with the Pontifex Maximus. I will offer him your consent to stand before the tribunal on the conditions that the proceedings take place under the watchful eye of the Tempests, and that among the judges there be representatives of both old and new faith. I mean, we don't have much power right now, so that doesn't really mean much. Orgriff is passionately devoted to his doctrine, but he has not lost his mind yet. I'm certain he is capable of heeding the voice of reason, cooling his ardor, and listening to me. I swear that I would do everything in my power to save you, brother, but I need your help to stop the blind dogmatists before they plunge the Empire into the chaos of a civil war. Your brother, Lucius Diamond. Okay, jurisprudence just went up for no reason, but all right. Great, rebellion also went up by 1. I'm glad I didn't do that thing with the Legion then, because then that would have turned around and put things up into disturbances. Fratricide. Night after night, you stay up late with courtiers, attend social events, drown yourself in paperwork, anything to keep away from your chambers, anything to keep your thoughts at bay. Yet every time you go to your rooms, you pass by Cornelius's office, and every time your heart skips a beat. Questions pop into your head against your will, and there's no brushing them off. Can any reason be strong enough to justify turning against your own kin? Could this sacrifice have been prevented? Is it right to cut out the black sheep for the good of the family? You reach your chambers, undress without thinking, climb into bed, and try to fall asleep. Yet sleep does not come, and your mind keeps racing. Servilia stabbed Cornelius in the back. Did she have the moral right to do it? Was it justified? For a Tempest? For an Archnean? Hector cast a sad glance your way. His ears droop, head on his paws, tail curled up like a spiral. You settle beside the dog, running your hand over his fur. What does it feel like to live free of tormenting thoughts, with nothing but changing moods to contend with? Tell me, my friend. Hector sneezes and wags his tail cautiously. No, he would never betray you. Betrayal requires deliberation. You wipe it with your sleeve. It comes away dark with blood. Your limbs grow cold. Consciousness fades, and you tremble into a black well of visions, into the seething murmurs of a yawning chasm, sometimes loud as if right by your ear, sometimes soft like the footsteps of shadows. Then a single commanding voice rises, silencing all the others. It fills you and becomes your own. You are a pious Tempest, nephew of the Emperor, Magister of the Holy Order, Paladin of the Church, chosen disciple of the Apostles. You, devoted Knight of the Holy Twins, bear the sacred sword. This blade has been forged to punish all who blaspheme against the twins. Your life will be filled with work. Your hand will sever the rotten branches until death carries you to your well-deserved bliss atop the peak of the shining pillar. But that joyful hour is far away, and you still tread among the sinful. Around you, the greenery of Magran gardens spread from the city to the plains below. Beyond them, the azure sea gleams. A handful of ragged figures covered in mud rattle their chains in front of you. You struggle to suppress a sneer of contempt. Their hair and faces are streaked with ash, their garments ragged, their hems hanging in tatters. Still, the once bright colors, scarlet, purple, and gold, peek through, with delicate embroidery here and there. Their walking sticks were once the carved staffs of witches, now broken. apostates, sorcerers, corrupted by the cursed gift, those who have spurned the twins. They tried to flee as though there was a place beyond the empire. Yet they are all doomed. The gods loathe sorcery, and the holy warriors knows no mercy. The huddled prisoners are shoved aside by a witch whose face is the spitting image of your own. Brother, have mercy. Let us go. We do not rebel against you or your creed. We only seek to leave the empire forever. The years have left their mark on Dion, his face weathered, his tangled gray beard trembling subtly. Your clean-shaven visage twists into a sneer of fury. And the younger said, "Let no one in this world rise against our word. He who refuses to receive me and my brother in his heart shall be smitten by my sword." Your gods teach more than punishment. The elder brought you the tidings of love, so why? And the elder said, "There's no greater love than love for me and my brother. He who does not know it shall never know love for his neighbors. It is better for him to perish than to ignore our call." Think of how we grew up side by side and vowed to always look out for each other. Without saying a word, you seize him by the collar of his robe and drag him across the dirt. Dion trips and shuffles, struggling not to fall. You toss him onto the dry grass at the chopping block like a sack and pull the sword from its sheath. A banner with a cross inside a circle flaps in the wind. And the younger said, "Father and mother, brother and sister, son and daughter, they shall rise against you. For they see only what is before them, yet the peak and the foot of the pillar elude their eyes. For my brother and I are the peak and the foot, and he who does not see us knows neither love nor law. Cast out all who are blind." Brother, I beg of you, for the sake of our kinship, for the sake of our blood, I ask not for mercy, only that when you take my life, you find and read my life's work, the severed branch. I want my voice to be heard, to endure in our blood tide. You press your brother's head against the chopping block and raise the sword. Do you accept the twins within your heart? Appius, I beg of you, read my book. Dion keeps his head down on the block, as though every ounce of his being is focused on reaching you with his words. And then Appius' voice turns inward, speaking not to his brother, but to you, his distant descendant, Prince Jerian Tempest. You wrestle with whether it is right to shed the blood of your kin for a greater cause. My answer is simple. Yes. All else is weakness, a crime. Before what is truly great, all are equal. Kin and stranger, emperor and slave. Search your heart and see what truly matters, that before which all else is insignificant. Then the poison of doubt will taint your soul no longer, and your life will know purpose. Take my answer and strike Dion down alongside me. Purge his voice from the blood tide and from memory. Let his words, deeds, and thoughts vanish forever. Consign his legacy to oblivion, as I have done, for the sake of the great law. The sacred sword is yours to wield. Will you follow in your ancestors' footsteps? Doing what must be done, or will you spare one whose only fault is doubt, whose final plea is not for his life, but for his manuscript? Okay, so I can accept Appius by, giving some sanity up. Probably not going to do that. I can reject Appius. My logic will go up, and that's it. Or I can protect Dion. You will reject Appius and bind your blood and life to another ancestor. My legacy of Tempest will go down by 5. My love will go up by 1. And Dion Tempest will be grateful. A forsaken ancestor who sought to restore the mask of the forgotten Tempests to the crypt. I don't like losing Legacy of Tempest, but It worries me that I see Dion Tempest will be grateful, because why? Why? You're dead, but I'm guessing my ancestors are going to pop up at some point. I will protect Dion and give up the 5. You pour all of your will into the hand clutching the sword. It is no longer Appius's, it is yours, and it lets the sword fall to the ground. You speak an accusation against your ancestor. Appius never understood the true meaning of love or duty, you say. Nothing is more sacred than the blood of your kin. Nothing greater than a brother's love. Some things cannot be sacrificed, not even for the highest cause. You swear to fulfill Dion's dying wish, to find his book and let his voice be heard. You will not let your ancestors' legacy vanish into nothingness. You find yourself on the floor in the dead of night. Your fingers find Hector's fur in the inky darkness. The dog nudges your palm. The nosebleed has stopped, leaving a dry mask on your face. Your thoughts turn to the ancestors left outside the blood tide. You yearn to hear their voices. You must come to know them. Alright, lost some legacy of the Tempest, but, got some love. Dion Tempest is grateful. I almost feel like for the Tempests that are outside of the blood tide, there needs to be something completely different. Some type of point there. But this may, come later on down the road, so I don't know yet. Archnean Unity. Great Chancellor Agorius Monroe lounges on the white marble steps of the pool. Water burbles gently in the fountains. Beads of condensed steam gleam on ancient mosaics. Light is scattered around the hall, refracted in the tall stained glass windows. Much to your surprise, Monroe has convened a session of the council at an Archnean bathhouse. You are hard-pressed to imagine how one might practice statecraft sitting in a pool, surrounded by half-naked women serving wine and grapes. Sounds like Rome. And yet you must admit that all the counselors, including yourself, are sick and tired of the same dusty old offices. A young woman is thoroughly massaging Avidius Lucilius's broad shoulders. He pays her no mind as he engages Marcius Melanatus in a lively discussion. Diamant is leaning against a marble parapet and humming to himself. This also doesn't seem like the best idea. I mean, stuff is gonna leak out. Even the ever-virtuous Terentius Ogriff looks at home inside these ancient walls, enjoying a hot bath. Monroe towers above the counselors, submerged in hot water, his cheek resting on his closed fist. You look at the new member of the council. You've seen him once before when your father granted him an audience. This stately man, Gnaeus Metellus, looks like he was chiseled out of blue marble. He is currently sipping wine from a golden goblet. His body bears many scars, and the wide face within pronounced cheekbones is covered in a coarse gray beard woven into a tight braid. You know that Metellus has been a friend of your father's since childhood. However, that does not explain why Uther has chosen him to fulfill the recently vacated position of the Archnean Tribune. To secure this appointment, Metellus had to abandon his position as Magister and leave behind the Holy Order, warriors of the church sworn to Junius Diamant, the patriarch of the new faith. His unexpected expression of your father's political will confounded the plans of Agorius Monroe, who was going to appoint his hand-picked man as the Archnean Tribune. The Pontifex Maximus, on the other hand, was aghast at the notion of welcoming a fervent new believer to the council. The chilly reception doesn't seem to bother Metellus, however. He remains cool and collected, responding to jabs and sarcastic remarks with irony. The Great Chancellor interrupts your train of thought, raising his hand to get the councilor's attention. My friends, I've gathered you today at this bathhouse to welcome the dawn of a beautiful new era in our empire. Today, we're going to shape the political landscape of the empire in a place where our glorious forebears met for precisely the same purpose. I wish to share with you the wisdom and the ability to live life to the fullest that our history and our memory have preserved. We've finally moved on from the Cornelius Tempus schism. The council can now focus on its shared responsibilities, leaving the feuds and squabbles behind us. It is our supremely important duty to govern the empire, but even more importantly, we must shape its future. To that end, we must deliver the creed, the main law that will bind every subject of our nation. You gaze absent-mindedly at the colorful paintings around you, marveling at our ancestors' wisdom and ability to live life to the fullest. They show nude Archneans drinking wine, dancing, and fornicating in most intriguing positions. A new era of prosperity will begin once the Emperor proclaims the creed at the Millennium Senate. I am confident that we will succeed, for I am now surrounded by Archneans who are determined to make the Empire great again. Monroe's inspired speech is met with surprising indifference from the counselors. Ogriff groans and gets out of the water. Marcius Melanatus smooths out a wrinkle in his toga. Diamant is looking off to the side through his fogged up spectacles. Ovidius Lucilius is the only one who seems to share the Chancellor's enthusiasm, nodding along and gesturing at a maidservant to bring him more wine. Our first order of business is to deal with Cornelius' legacy. We must depose his appointees and sympathizers. Functionaries appointed by the previous Great Chancellor would be useless or an outright hindrance to the work that must be done. Hold on, Agorius. The first thing we must deal with is the heresy plaguing us. While you expend your time and resources resolving what are, to be frank, petty political feuds, this schism is tearing the empire asunder. We cannot bury our heads in the sand any longer. This so-called new faith must be dealt with at once. Everything else is of secondary importance. Glorious Monroe winces, but before he can formulate a response, Metellus' low, booming voice drowns him out. That's enough, Pontifex. As the tribune appointed by the Emperor, I will stand for the rights of our subjects, not only Archneans but humans as well, including their right to seek their own path to the twins and follow Patriarch Junius's teachings, if they so desire. Humans and Archneans are turning to new faith because your antiquated dogma is nothing more than Isotaeus' error. Blessed twins, this is precisely what I'm talking about. This ruinous heretical poison has now infected the council itself. It should be our primary focus. Pontifex Tribune, I implore you to be reasonable. This issue merits discussion, to be sure, and we will find ways to address it in due time. But at present, I would like us to return to the matter with which we begin today's session. Before the Great Chancellor can finish, Lucius Diamant interjects. If I may, I would like to draw the council's attention to the matter of the empire's stability. As far as I'm aware, it has been shaken as of late, and eliminating a great number of functionaries could completely shatter its already precarious balance. His brow furrowed, Monroe hears the great prefect out with an inscrutable expression on his face. I see no reason to resort to radical solutions and drastic actions. Gradual restructuring and staggered reappointments are simply inevitable on our longer timeline. The council should focus on the goal set before it by the Emperor, namely, delivering the creed. I concur, but I would like to reiterate that the safety of the Empire remains our top priority, not the removal of undesirable bureaucrats. Ogriff erupts in loud opposition to Marcius, who is in turn interrupted by the vociferous Metellus. The counselors bicker and shout at each other. Their voices begin to merge into a cacophony in which no single argument can be discerned. Monroe keeps staring daggers at the counselors, while Lucilius stays out of discussion, distracted by two maidservants and hence wine. Enough. The Great Chancellor's voice forces the councilors to fall silent. Need I remind you, gentlemen, that this is a council session, not a symposium. I hereby call these proceedings to order. Before we vote, we shall hear the great censor of the Tempests. Yeah, maybe you should have considered that before you went to a bathhouse. Jerian, the floor is yours. As the heir and emperor-to-be, we would like to hear your opinion. Where should the council focus its efforts? So this is gonna cost points either way. I can abstain, and equality will go down by 1. The Great Chancellor can decide how the council will proceed. I can support Diamant. Progress will go up by 1. Council obedience will go down by 1. Diamant will go up by 1. Ovidius will go down by 1 to -1. And Gnaeus Metellus will go up by 1. You will support preserving the bureaucracy for the future of the Creed. I can support Ogrif. The council will focus its efforts on mending the schisms and combating apostasy. Jurisprudence will go down by 1. Council obedience will go down by 1. Terentius Ogrif will go up by 1. Marcius Milanatus will go up by 1. Gnaeus Metellus will go down by 1 to 0. Or I can support Monroe. Let's see. Equality will go down by 1. Council obedience will go up by 1. Agorius Monroe will go up by 1. Ovidius Lucilius will go up by 1. Lucius Diamant will go down by 1. The council will replace the functionaries appointed by Cornelius with new ones who will be more in line with the current political direction. Basically a whole ass Schedule F decision. I hate to be like this, but to a certain degree, I kind of want to abstain because, I mean, granted, we are close to the rise of equality, but I don't know if this is worth spending my points on right now and pissing off people unnecessarily. The only one I kind of want to do is this one, but then that's going to put Ovidius Lucilius into -1. And I don't know about that. The council obedience is going to go down again too, and that's going to put it on a nice edge. And then also again, I'm going to be down to just 5 points, so I'll only get to do one more thing. I'm going to have to spend some time too on the side trying to do some stuff to get my points up. But I also don't want to lose the council obedience, so this seems better, but I also don't like the idea of screwing up the equality, because if I do that, then I mean, it doesn't cause any issues right now, and I get the council obedience back to 5, which kind of puts it at a middle ground right there, and it doesn't put me in a bad spot either, because if I turn around and do this, then that leaves me a little wiggle room with the next choice. But again, I'm only going to have 5 points, and I don't know what's coming next. Ew. So I think this one time I'm going to support Monroe. I really don't want to, but since I kind of got a moment with Lucius, and I'm definitely going to do stuff in order to get his opinion up, I'll allow it this time. Because I do want the obedience to go back up. Then again, yeah, because this just seems like a waste. I'm just losing equality, and I'm not losing or gaining anything with anybody else. So yeah, let's do this. You support the great chancellor's proposal. Cornelius' appointees must be dislodged from their cushy seats before the vile legacy of your uncle can bear fruit. With every word, your voice becomes louder and firmer. It echoes with the rumble of the blood tide as it feeds you the right words. You speak from your very Archnean essence and touch the hearts of those who hear you. You turn to Monroe. He slowly raises his hand. You too raise yours. Ovidius, Lucilius, Marcius Milanatus, and finally Terentius Ogriff raise theirs. Diamant and Metellus are the only opposing votes. If every great chancellor begins his term by purging the sympathizers of his predecessors, one day the empire will find itself completely purged of bureaucrats. I stand with the great censor. Bravo, my prince. What an inspiring speech. I'm not ashamed to admit that I was moved to tears. Thank you, Agorius, for gathering us here in this beautiful place to remind us who we are and what we're fighting for. God. Agorius Monroe sluggishly rises from the water and half-heartedly throws on his toga. He stands silently for a few moments, his lips pursed. Thank you, gentlemen. This session is concluded. We'll meet again in a month's time at the council chambers. Your Highness, I am grateful for your support, and I apologize for the disorderly conduct during today's session. It pains me to admit that even now, during these trying times, we are nowhere near as united as I had hoped. I swear that I will not let our sessions devolve into such chaos ever again. Okay. The great chancellor leaves in silence. His half-finished goblet of wine remains on the marble parapet. All right, so the council obedience has gone up a bit. Oh, and I didn't even notice that. Reflects the extent to which the council has rallied around the great chancellor, as well as unity and obedience of the counselors. So I actually need this shit to go down. I did not pay attention to that. Shit. Oh, okay. So, I guess at the very least I need to get to like shattered disobedience or something. Empty seat, collapse of the council, Jerian's creed. So I need Agorius Monroe to not have power in the council. He cannot have absolute power in the council. And he has to be displeased with the creed. Okay. I'll try to keep note of that in the future. And what does he have it at right now? Old Faith Dogma, Arcanian Immunity, Prohibit Human Nobility, Republic, Limited Monarchy, and Tempest as a Great House. These part I actually don't mind. Oh wait, okay, so these are the options that I can get right here. And then the Tempest is as a Great House. But again, if I get a Republic, does that just mean, will I still be able to be a Great House or what? Okay, I'm going to have to reconsider how I approach the council then. Onward. And now it's going to turn the swing. It's time for me to swing the other way and start pissing Agorius off. Oh. This event is triggered by your previous actions. All ties severed. The Gilded Cage. Agatha doesn't look up, her gaze fixed on her tightly interlaced fingers. The elegant cut of her blue dress, skillfully crafted by the court tailor, emphasizes the curves of her body. Her face is pale, but her voice sounds steady and deep. My lord, you know that I was brought to the palace against my will. The courtiers acknowledge neither my rights nor my voice. You alone hold my fate in your hands, and yet I am no slave, and I refuse to bear this yoke. You peer more closely at her face, her pursed lips. When she timidly entered your study, you thought she wished to request something minor, but now you realize that this concerns something truly important to her. Usually, imperturbable, your secretary struggles to suppress a smirk. If I may clarify what's happened, your dancer has repeatedly petitioned me for permission to leave the palace. Naturally, her request was denied, so yesterday, she took it upon herself to attempt an escape. Following this incident, I considered it appropriate to... Agatha interrupts Probus. She speaks in the same steady voice, addressing only you. I am no slave, nor am I some palace ornament that exists solely to please idle eyes. Please listen to your heart, my lord. Does it truly wish to lock me in a gilded cage like a bird? Probus's eyes flicker upward almost imperceptibly. You ask Agatha where she intended to go, surely not back to her home village. Agatha meets your gaze calmly, disregarding the smirk on Probus's face. Whoever wishes to preserve herself must guard her will and her secrets. I'd like to offer my words freely, not surrender them at another's whim. Probus barely restrains himself from laughing out loud. He clearly doesn't take Agatha's words seriously, thinking that her actions are nothing but the game of a defiant slave who will ultimately be glad to submit to her master's will. I beg you, my lord, please release me from the palace. Every bird has its own sky, every wanderer his own path. Please let me follow the road that has been laid before me by destiny. My words will crumble to ash. My dances will fade like a dead star if I become your meek plaything. There's no challenge in her steady voice. Agatha seems to notice neither Probus nor her own audacity. She just looks you in the eyes calmly. You ask whether Agatha would promise to return to the palace if she were permitted to leave it. Cannot promise that. I will return only if my heart calls me back. But I will not, cannot continue living in your gilded cage, my lord. You slowly turn to look at Probus. His usual impenetrable mask is firmly back in place. Your dancer has been refusing food for 3 days now, Your Highness. Agatha looks into your eyes with the same serious calm. What game is she playing? How can a concubine demand to be set free? How dare she speak to you as an equal and make demands of you? Your blood starts to boil, pounding at your temples, ordering you to crush this woman who dares to try to impose her will upon you. Okay, so I can let Agatha go. The great houses will go down by 1. Love goes up by 1, but I think it's already at 10 anyway. And then Agatha goes up by 1. Oh, okay. Or I will unleash my ancestors' fury and destroy the defiant concubine. The legacy of the Tempest will go up by 5. My will go down by 1, and my blood goes up by 1. I will lose 3 with Agatha, and all ties will be severed. Interesting. I mean, to a certain degree, I don't necessarily need Agatha around. I don't have any plans with her. She's just kind of there. Then again, you know, she has been questionably loyal, I guess. And she did help me that time, so and again, I don't know how she's gonna come up in the future. Not to mention, I'd not rather have you around and be pissed, and well, I'd rather, yeah, you be gone than you to be stuck here and pissed. And again, by the way it sounds, you're gonna starve yourself to death, so there's that. Agatha, I really don't want to be a dick, but I kind of feel like I'm gonna have to just piss you off because, like, I kind of need the points. And like, why are you here? Like, I keep forgetting that you're actually here anyway. So, decisions. I mean, it sucks for Agatha, but like, this pissing off the great houses is kind of all right. Then again, does it really matter since I'm kind of not going this route anyway? And I'm sure she's gonna help the commoners out at some point, so shit. Okay, fine. Agatha, you can do what you want. A wave of rage surges within you, about to engulf you, but you fix your gaze on Agatha's clasped, bloodless hands, muster all of your will, and force the voices of your ancestors to be silent. Your secretary begins to speak, but you stop him with a brief gesture. Clearing your throat, you tell Probus that from now on, Agatha is free to leave the palace whenever she wishes and return whenever she sees fit. Your secretary blinks in bewilderment, then bows and leaves your study. You expect words of gratitude from Agatha, but she remains silent. Her face remains calm as she brushes a black lock from her forehead, turns and walks out of the room. Her steps light and graceful. Your heart sinks. Sleep eludes you until the small hours of the night. Your candle burns down to a stub, its light barely clinging to life. A report arrives with the first light of morning. Your concubine has returned to her chambers. Okay. So I just not have let this, I can't let it get to 6. Yeah, and my love's already maxed out. And now she's almost at attachment. I don't necessarily need that, but all right. Fiance. Oh, rights and privileges. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Arcane privilege, not triggered. Human rights, not triggered. The sheer variety of gifts scattered before you takes your breath away. You freeze up in the middle of the throne room, which is filled with valuables of every kind. It's like a dragon's hoard from a fairy tale. Paintings in gilded frames are piled by the wall. The center of the room is occupied by statues of pink marble atop chipped plinths. Your gaze slowly glides atop stacks of lavishly bound books, exquisite amphoras, rolled up tapestries, and painted sets of fine porcelain until it reaches open chests brimming with gold. You stroll slowly through this odd exposition, examining the unexpected offerings. The Empress, who charged you with receiving these gifts, only mentioned an ancient tradition, but did not care to explain who brought the gifts or what the occasion might be. I'm shocked. You take your place upon the throne and order the gift bearers to be allowed in. An unfamiliar Archnean, tall and ropey, his back ramrod straight, marches confidently towards you and kneels. His cleanly shaven head hangs low. His polished skull glistens. Okay, Agent 47. Elias Sejunis, vassal to the Monroes, commander of the Archnean Centuria, and Magister of the Order of Blood, at your service, Prince Jerian. You gesture for Sejunis to rise and thank the Order of Blood for their generous offerings. You ask him to what the Tempests owe such generosity. The Archnean adjusts the clasp of his cape and enunciates every word of his prompt response. We seized these riches from the crooks and thieves, Your Highness. We took them from members of the lower estate who had enriched themselves through greed and grift. These loan sharks and shady dealers convened in Eterna, where they plotted to infiltrate our government and siphon even more wealth from the Empire. Why do I feel like this is a very political way of saying you just robbed people randomly? The Archnean Centuria paid a visit to this so-called progressive club and forced the swindlers to loosen their purse strings. And there it is. Sejunis briefly stammers as if unsure whether or not to mention some sensitive matter. Pardon me, Your Highness, but we are aware of the sorry state of the Emperor's treasury, and we know about the debts you've taken on. We know that the Tempests have had to sacrifice a lot, and it's all because these contemptuous insects have bled you dry, along with all other Archnians. In a great display of compassion, we did not slaughter them or burn their family homes. We just trimmed their excess fat, luxuries no low-born human should possess, along with gold they attained by trickery and deceit. We've subtracted the church's tithes from our bounty and taken a modest share for ourselves, but the rest belongs to the house of the Emperor, and here it is at your feet. May this offering bring prosperity to the Empire and House Tempest. You sit on your throne, surrounded by treasure, like a dragon in his lair. You consider whether you should accept these gifts or find a way to refuse them. Will you encourage this initiative and lean into tradition, or punish the vigilantes and signal to your subjects that times are changing? Okay, I can accept the gifts. I will lose 2 with the New Faith clergy. I will lose 3 with the commoners. Equality will go down by 1. Power of Tempests goes up by 1. My logic goes down by 1. I can accept the gifts. Well, I can't. I can't accept the gifts and suppress the public outrage. I would have needed Cornelius Tempest out, imprisoned, or Cornelius Tempest disgraced. And I have neither. That would have been Archnian privilege, New Faith clergy -1, commoners -1, equality down by 2, and then the power of the Tempests would get +1. I can punish the Archnians. I will return the stolen property to the humans and punish the Archnian Centuria. The great houses will go down by 3, which that would be enemies. Old Faith clergy will go down by 2. They will also be straight up enemies. Well, they're already kind of at that anyway. So the commoners will go down, would go up by 1. Jurisprudence would go up by 1. Logic would go up by 1, but that's already maxed out too, if I'm not mistaken. Or I can shift responsibility. You will let Augurius Monroe deal with his vassals and return the stolen valuables. Human rights will go, it will be human rights. Great houses will go down by 2. The Old Faith clergy will go down by 1. Commoners will go up by 1. Jurisprudence will go up to 5. Logic will go up by 1, but again, it's already maxed out. And Augurius Monroe will go down by 1. Well, we're already fighting with the Old Faith clergy anyway. At least I won't be fighting 2 things with this one, because if I did this, then I'm going to be fighting with the great houses right now and the Old Faith clergy. So let's not have both of those, shall we? Yes, let's go ahead and shift the responsibility. Human rights. You secured the support of wealthy industrialists in return for protecting their rights and freedoms. Yes. Let's just deal with 1, and maybe with this jurisprudence event, we will get something to kind of help other things. So, shift the responsibility. You send Elias Sejonis away to await your decision. Once he is gone, you summon the Great Chancellor. Augurius Monroe appears before you in the throne room, surprised and agitated. You gesture at all the wealth extracted from the commoners and explain the issue to him. You order Augurius to penalize his vigilante vassals and return the valuables the Archnian Centuria looted to their rightful owners, including those that were given as tithe to the Church of the Twins. But Your Highness, how can you ask me to go against my own vassals? In my opinion, there is nothing criminal about what they've done. On the contrary, the Archnian Centuria has rendered a valuable service to you, all Archnians, and the Empire itself. You interrupt the counselor by raising your hand, adorned with the iron signet ring, reminding him of his gift. You tell him that you are making this demand not as a prince, but as an Archnean council. The great chancellor recognizes the authority the ring bestows upon you and is forced to comply. The Archnean Centuria has stooped to vigilante justice, and for that they will be punished. Gregorius gives you a disappointed look, then bows in submission and leaves the throne room. You ponder the rumblings of discontent that will ripple through the great houses when they learn about your rejection of the Archnean Centuria's bloody gift. You hope that the great chancellor will be able to quell that storm, at least to some degree. Okay, so we got some human rights. And we're on a very thin line, and now we're gonna have to deal with the old faith. But we also got the rise of jurisprudence. And my logic is logicking. Gregorius Monroe went down by 1, but we can afford it. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Jurisprudence greater than or equal to 5, and it is at a 5. Archnean tyranny not triggered. It has been a long time since paperwork brought you such a joy. With every new signature, you feel something light and warm growing inside of you. A well-trimmed quill, fresh ink, and exquisite flourish, but more importantly, a life saved with every signature you leave on the parchment. You put the signed document on top of a thick stack of similar pardons and grab another. All these people could have been burned at the stake if it weren't for the prefecture judges, who can now reverse the decisions of the Inquisition's sacred tribunal. Imperial law was conceived as a tool for the subjugation of the commoners, but now it has been transformed into a bulwark that empowers people to stand up for their rights. It's no mean feat for the prefectures to appeal the sentences of the Inquisition and reverse the decisions of the sacred tribunal. Whenever imperial law clashes with the will of the church or the whims of local suzerains, the law prevails. The prefectures painstakingly define people's rights and obligations, thereby safeguarding them against the tyranny of the powerful. Your subjects of all of states are safe and sound under the aegis of the law. The prefectures are reopening hundreds of cases brought before the sacred tribunal, and those pardoned are praising the prefects, the judges, the throne, and Jerian Tempest, whose hand signs every pardon. The clergy is greatly disturbed by the judges' overreach. The angry priests consider their interference in matters of spiritual judgment abhorrent and foam at the mouth whenever secular institutions dare to interfere in matters they have neither the understanding nor the authority to meddle in. Lucius Diamant, the great prefect, has responded publicly to the clergy, saying that only imperial authority has the right to prosecute and sentence. It is the church's job to teach and instruct. The prefect is confident that the religious courts will be promptly dealt with, although he happily defers to the clergy in all matters of divine law. The problem is that the empire is currently in the midst of a religious schism, and people do not know whose authority to trust. Judges cannot rule on church matters. Theirs is the lot of the nobility, which precludes them from interpreting the Holy Scriptures. Any attempt to establish a commission of clergymen to assist the courts inevitably gets bogged down in disputes among the adepts of the old and new faiths. On behalf of all the prefectures, Lucius Diamant is asking for a unified codex, a singular authoritative compendium that would finally put an end to the reckless volunteerism of the Inquisition and bring about a uniform procedure to every trial that concerns a religious issue. Gaius Tempest wholeheartedly endorses the great prefect's suggestion, adding that the distinguished Archneans have as much to gain from a unified religious law as the humans. This Codex of Sin, as he calls it, will be immensely helpful. This seems sensible, but if you were to create such a codex, you would have to found it on the principles of one of the two doctrines. The new faith's tenets will put an end to the Inquisition's indulgent trials of innocence, but the prefecture's rulings on spiritual matters may become far too lenient, giving rise to an untold number of heresies throughout the empire. The dogma of the old faith will allow the civil courts to adopt the stern traditions of the sacred tribunals, which means that the guilty will never escape punishment. However, this may empower the old believers to wield this newfound power against the new faith, escalating the schism. Combining the foundational beliefs of both confessions in your Codex of Sin will not appease the priests. Terentius Ogriff and the holy men of both faiths are already incensed. They have accused the prefectures of meddling in the affairs of the Inquisition's sacred tribunal, and they demand that the practice be stopped. The Pontifex Maximus is vehemently opposed to the codification of religious tenets. Ogriff believes that spiritual matters must be adjudicated by divine providence, not common law. Should you heed the needs of the clergy and strip the prefectures of any authority to meddle in the affairs of the church? Okay, so I can base the codex on the new faith. That'll give me +2 with the distinguished Archnians, -2 with the old faith clergy. The human nobility will also go up by 2. Jurisprudence will go up by 1. Rebellion will go down by 1. And my will go up by 1. All my blood goes down by 1. If I base it on the codex of the old faith, distinguished Archnians also goes up by 2. Human nobility also goes up by 2. The new faith clergy goes down by 1. Rebellion goes down. Jurisprudence goes up. Will go up by 1. Blood will go down by 1. If I compose a unified codex, the distinguished Archnians will go up by 1. The distinguished Archnians will go up by 2. Human nobility will also go up by 2. Jurisprudence goes up by 1. Rebellion goes down by 1. Interesting. I think I am just going to base it in new faith. And it's only because, well, they're already pissed. And it's already going to trigger an event anyway. So I might as well just go ahead and roll with it and not spend the points. Yeah. And then this gets the human nobility and the distinguished Archnians on my side, which would be nice, but yeah. Oh, well, I mean, this does the same thing. So yeah, this does the same thing, and I don't have to spend the 5 points. If I had scholarship, I could have did it. I was actually really close to that too. But yeah, this would have just been an easier version of this without pissing anyone off. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and base the codex on the new faith. You draw up an edict on the composition of a codex of sin and call upon the judges and clergymen of the new faith to write it. Henceforth, the tribunals of the Inquisition throughout the empire must base their judgments on the letter and spirit of the codex. The prefectures retain the right to review appeals of inquisitorial sentences and defend those who have been unjustly condemned by the court of the church. Now every subject in your empire can rely on the rule of law. Punishment is reserved for witches, apostates, and blasphemers against the twins. Anyone who seeks their own path to the twins must be acquitted. You cannot be sure that everyone who deserves punishment will get an appropriate sentence, but you would rather let the guilty go free than condemn the guiltless. You also hope that such a decision will strengthen the ruling dynasty's reputation in the eyes of its subjects. The service nobility of humans and Archnians will see in you an unlighted monarch who cares about justice, and all the rest of the empire will be assured of the strength and fairness of imperial law. All right, so I have the distinguished Archnians on my side and the human nobility. Rebellion has gone down to 6. And that gives me a little wiggle room now on certain decisions. Jurisprudence went up to 6. Now we just gotta get it to an 8, and we'll be the triumph of jurisprudence. Will and blood is even at 5. And now we have to deal with this event. Rebellion of the Old Faith. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Old Faith clergy, loyalty less than or equal to 0. Your Highness, Patriarch Luke asked me to find you as soon as I could. I bear terrible news from the capital. Demasius Paulian struggles to fix his tousled hair. He has been persistently seeking an audience since early morning. Now that he finally stands in front of you, he is so anxious he is at a loss for words. Marcius Melanatus stands at his side, dispassionately sorting through his papers. Bright light floods the study, church bells ring outside. The old believers are massacring us. They're siccing their pet Archneans on us, killing new believers, our priests, the poor, anyone they think harbors doubts about the immutability of the lots. Our treaties are being burned, and our shelters are being pillaged. The humans that rose to defend us were murdered. God. The surviving New Faith clergy have locked themselves in the orphanage, where they are in mortal peril as we speak. I barely managed to make my own way across the city, sneaking and hiding as best as I could, for they would not spare me if I were discovered. I called upon the city watch, but they would not interfere. You looked over to Marcius Melanatus. He nods in agreement and hands you a hefty folder containing the report. Before you can open the document, Paulian rushes over to the window, visibly distressed. His voice is filled with rage. Your Highness, this is a catastrophe the likes of which you cannot imagine. It hardly requires a report. Just look with your own eyes. Look at what is happening right here, right now, in the heart of your capital. When you step out onto the balcony, the ringing of the church bells becomes deafening. City folk are rushing through the streets. Clergymen in ritual vestments can be seen here and there. Some are fleeing, while others are standing still and preaching to the crowds that have gathered around them. You notice several armed groups. The old believers took to the streets at dawn and called upon their faithful. They say that the world has lost its primates, and the hour has come for true believers to take up arms against the apostates. In the name of the twins, they drive them to banish the new believers from the city, destroy their temples, and cleanse Eterna of their false teachings. They do not take up arms themselves, of course, since it's against their lot, but the Archneans of the great houses and nobles ordained to fight by the twins are enthusiastically supplementing their efforts. You are a useless secret chancellor. The New Faith has been persecuted for years, Your Highness, but this is a calamity the likes of which we have never faced before. Okay, I get it. We have never been threatened with violence. Shield the peaceful followers of our creed, I beg of you. March your legion into the city. You ask Marcius, who is leading the armed uprising. My agents report that the unrest is spearheaded by the young Decimus Monroe, nephew twice removed to Agorius Monroe. He was recently ordained as a priest, but remained influential among the great houses. In fact, he wields that influence quite deftly. I'm sure that this noble Archnean would heed the summons of the heir to the throne. Would you like to hear him out, Your Highness? You have heard the old believers' arguments before, so you refuse Marcius's offer. You knew that they were openly skeptical of the Tempest's policies, but you never expected their dissatisfaction to pour out into the streets in a bloody uprising. Even though the Old Faith clergy has called the Archnean youth to arms, we can still bring them to heel. With your permission, I will dispatch the secret chancellery's forces. The Legion does not have to get involved. The Old Believers' rebellion is expected and natural. They no longer see you as their primate or the defender of their faith. On the other hand, however, the priests are not acting directly against the Tempest's power. Should you intervene in the conflict, or would it be wiser to simply wait it out? Okay, so all things are available to me. I can deal with this quietly. Rebellion will go up by 2. You order the uprising suppressed by the forces of the secret chancellery. Rebellion will go up by 2. So yeah, I can use force to deal with this. You order the uprising suppressed by the forces of the Legion. The great houses will go down by 2, which will cause a problem. Progress goes up by 1, rebellion goes up by 2, and the power of the Tempests goes down by 2 as well. Or I can stay out of it. If I stay out of it, the rebellion goes up by 3. I lose 5 of the legacy of the Tempests, and the New Faith clergy goes down by 3. Jurisprudence also goes down by 1. Wonderful. We'll deal with this quietly. I'm going to have to take it on the chin one way or the other. And again, this is why I was trying to balance things earlier, because of this. So like in this particular case, like if I would have made the earlier decision that bumped up the rebellion to 8, this would be game over. This would just be game over. There's nothing I could do in this situation because rebellion would be at 10. So yeah, and I'm still probably screwed further on down the road, but we'll see how it goes. Deal with this quietly. You order Marcius Milanatus to resolve the situation quietly. Then you turn to Damasius Polian and inform him dryly but politely that his audience is over. The news comes the next morning. The Privy Councillor appears in your study, report in hand as always. The secret chancellery has put an end to the unrest, and we managed to convince the insurgents of the rebellion's futility. The Archneans who participated in the revolt have been detained, but they will be pardoned. We will recognize several priests of lesser status as the main instigators. If I may speak freely, my prince, nothing is over. Even those old believers who had no connection to the uprising are deeply disappointed in the Tempests. At the first convenient opportunity, the priest will raise rebellion again. When you're alone again, you think about what Marcius said. The old believers do not have the strength to lead their flock to a holy war, at least not yet. But sooner or later, they will involve other estates in their schism. Once their forces are joined, they will drown the empire in blood. And we're gonna have another event with the rebellion. The Hand That Feeds. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Rebellion greater than or equal to 8. You spent several days training the Falcon, but it still hasn't grown accustomed to your glove. Sir, you have more important things to do. Never have you met a bird as headstrong as this unrequested gift from your father. As you remove its hood to feed it, the door swings open, and the bird leaps from your hand, startled. Gustav L. Goth, the strategist of Hermia, steps into your study. Supporting himself on a plain cane, he trudges across the parquet floor, limping on his left leg. When you last saw him years ago, Gustav was a ruddy, robust, and jovial man. You hardly recognize him now. The strategist's face is strikingly pale, and his eyes gleam with a feverish light. A rebellion is raging in Hermia, Your Highness. I demanded that the overseer inform you sooner. I pleaded with him to seek help, yet he was confident that he could manage the situation on his own. There are barricades all over Hellisburg, and the city hall has been plundered. There are riots in other cities as well. This is not an uprising of a single estate. Archneans clash with humans, old believers assault new believers, and the urban poor attack the guards. It is a war of all against all. Your subjects are consumed by mutual hatred, and the province is awash in blood. The overseer is mobilizing the legion, preparing to send troops into major cities. but this will not restore order in Hermia. Elgoth's voice falters, and your bird, which is perched on the mantle, flaps its wings in fear. You command the strategist to compose himself and lay out his request without undue theatrics. The Overseer can secure the cities, but our forces are insufficient to restore order throughout the entire province. Your Highness, I implore you to intervene. Send your troops to Hermia, or the flames of war will sweep through across the Empire. You walk carefully up to the falcon and offer it a morsel of raw meat as you mull over your answer. You have no doubt that once the cities are under control, the Overseer will restore order throughout the province. Meanwhile, the riots in Hermia could serve as an excellent excuse to raise more troops. Then again, rebellious sentiments have truly come to a head throughout the Empire. Perhaps it is time to show strength and help the Overseer bring the unruly provinces to heel. I can suppress the rebellion, it will go down by 1, but the Tempests lose 3. Or I can raise more troops, and the power of the Tempests go up by 3. This would put us at prosperity. Huh. Oh, Lord. 8 is not great. And I don't even, like, to a certain degree, I kind of want to do this, but I don't even know, like, when it's gonna come in handy again. I know it's gonna come in handy at some point, but it's just like, when exactly? And then suppress the rebellion. Like, on the one hand, yes, it goes down by 1, but it's just like you can't go down by more than that. I let it go the first time, but not this time. Suppress the rebellion. The bird hops onto your glove without fear, and you gently return it to its cage. You inform the strategist that you will heed his request and send Tempest troops to Hermia. Together with the Overseer's army, your legion will suppress the uprising and help maintain order in the province. Thank you, Your Highness. I promise this will secure peace not just in Hermia, but throughout the Empire. With a brief bow, Gustav Elgoth strides toward the exit. He still limps on his left leg, yet his steps carry renewed strength and vigor. As you watch him leave, you finally recognize the hearty and cheerful man you once knew. Okay, so the rebellion has gone down to 7. The power of the Tempests also went down to 9. And I mean, that makes sense. This is one of those cases where I kind of wish there was something like, I don't know, like you could have been harsher and maybe this would have affected some of the estates, but the rebellion would have went down more significantly, because I would rather take a hit to my opinion with the other estates and get more of the rebellion going down than kind of teetering on the brink like it is now. Granted, that's where we are in the Empire, but yeesh. This event is triggered by your previous actions. The Unspoken Committee. Human rights triggered. The carriage rattles as it rolls over a bump. A gaudy fountain shaped like a saucy mermaid and finely sculpted shrubbery flicker past the window. The driver pulls up to a broad, snow-white flight of stairs. Before you stands a grand mansion built in the Archnean style. There's something off about the building. Arches lower than they should be, columns thicker, windows oddly high, corkscrew towers spiraling in the wrong direction. The overabundance of gilded fretwork leans more toward the ridiculous than the refined. Lucius Diamant gets out of the carriage first. Together, you walk towards the front door where the owner of this extravagantly tasteless mansion is waiting. The Great Prefect has arranged for you to meet a representative of powerful interests that are prepared to back you and stand by your side in the political struggle against Monroe. A lean old human with a sloping forehead and a long beard awaits you on the gleaming, gilded porch. Dressed in the latest fashion, he supports himself with an ornate cane. My prince, if I may, this is Gert Arkwright, proprietor of this estate and chairman of the Progressive Society. He is your loyal subject and supporter. 'Tis an honor, your highness. Rest assured I have taken all due precautions as instructed by the esteemed Great Prefect. Your visit will be kept strictly confidential. Please allow me to show you in. Please consider my humble abode your imperial residence for the duration of your stay. You step into a wide hall paved with emerald marble. Colorful tapestries and ancient mirrors and heavily gilded frames line the walls. Despite the sunlight streaming in through the windows, the dining room is lit by candles. As you take your seat, you notice that the table is arranged in Arcanian fashion, but the dessert spoon and tablespoon are placed incorrectly. I must first convey my deepest appreciation, Your Highness. Because of your intervention, the industrialists and merchants of the Progressive Society were spared a humiliating expropriation, if not a vulgar and brazen theft. It is no secret to us that it was only in deference to your will that the Arcanian Centuria returned the valuables they had taken from us. All members of the Progressive Society extend their humble gratitude for your patronage and your opposition to Arcanian injustice. The Great Prefect tactfully interrupts Arkwright. Though this deed was certainly honorable, my prince, it is not without consequence. The Arcanians no longer pin their hopes on you. In fact, they view your rule as a threat to their privileges and traditional way of life. Archduke Monroe seeks to rally the council around himself by courting the support of the aggrieved Arcanian estates. You must find allies among those of your subjects who believe in you and share your vision of the future. These subjects are many, Your Highness, and our numbers are growing with each passing day. My own factories, mines, guilds, and banks, we help the empire advance and prosper, and we stand ready to support you in the political struggles ahead. We call ourselves the Unspoken Committee. We have representatives in the lesser quorums of many provinces, but we lack the strength to impact local politics. We are compelled to remain silent or vote as dictated, while our own proposals are ruthlessly relegated to the trash bin, often unread. Much like you, my prince, the Unspoken Committee strives for reform, progress, and the establishment of just laws. Yet, unlike you, we have no leverage to turn these aims into reality. We are ready to stand with you against the Arcanian aristocracy and the conservatives in the council, but we require your patronage as well as certain powers. You ask Arkwright to specify which powers he is speaking of. He straightens his posture and sets his utensils aside. We implore you to grant us the right to present our bills to the Imperial Council. Only then will the fruits of our labor cease to disappear into the refuse bin of provincial officials. The common folk will at least be able to voice their concerns in front of those who truly rule the empire. Your Highness, please place your confidence in us, and the people of this humble yet active estate will help you dismantle the ossified, antiquated world of yesterday. Okay. I can arrest Arkwright. This will have the great houses go up by 1. The human nobility will go down by 1. The commoners will go down by 2. Rebellion will also go down by 1, but equality will go down by 1. Gert Arkwright will be arrested, and that's gonna really piss off Lucius Diamant. I can just refuse his request, and that will just piss off Lucius Diamant a little bit. I can suggest a compromise. The commoners will go up by 2, Equality will go up by 1, and Gert Arkwright will become an ally. Or I can spend these 5 points. Oof. I can spend these 5 points. The great houses will go down by 1, which will trigger an event. Human nobility will go up to 20. That's fine. And the commoners will go up to 17. They will become allied. Progress and equality will go up by 1. Council obedience will go down by 1. Gert Arkwright will become an ally. Oh boy. I think I'm going to spend these 5 points. But we're finna come to another event. And this is what I meant before, where it's like you end up in these chain of events. Like, this isn't even the chapter stuff. This is just an event train that's being caused by events. So let's spend those last 5 points. And yeah, let's agree to this alliance. You promised to grant patronage to the Unspoken Committee. Arkwright and his men will have the authority to introduce bills to the Imperial Council. Your Highness, words fail me. What an immense honor for me and for every human in the Empire. We are fully prepared. By your leave, the new bills can be presented to the Council tomorrow. They address the introduction of cutting-edge industrial technologies, along with some measures to curb Arcnean abuses of the lower estates. Nodding graciously, you ask him not to rush things. Before anything can move forward, you have to work out the principles of the committee's relationship with the Imperial Council. You assure Arkwright that your court ministers will be given full authority to handle the matter. For my part, I will make every effort to undermine the Great Chancellor's sway in the Council. The common estate will unite behind you, my prince. Our support will be as steadfast as that of the nobility. Together, we will reshape the Empire. Flushed and sweating, Arkwright raises a toast to the future and drains his glass of expensive Illyrian wine in one go. The meal concluded, you and Lucius take your leave. As a farewell, your thoughtful host offers you a box of leftover dessert. Confused, Diamant accepts the gift and rides back with the cake resting awkwardly on his lap, at a loss for what to do. All right, so I am now allied with the commoners as well. But now I've become enemies with the great houses, which is about to trigger an event. Council obedience has gone down, and I do want it to keep going down. Progress has gone up, equality has gone up. We're at a 3. If I can get these to a 5, then we get to Rise of Progress and Rise of Equality. And Gert Arkwright is my ally. The Wrath of the Great Houses. This event is triggered by your previous actions. Great House loyalty less than or equal to 6. The solemn atmosphere of the courtroom weighs heavily on you. No audience fills the benches, and the guards at the entrance remain still as statues. Neither Diamant, acting as prosecutor, nor Tarquinius Melanatus, here to speak on behalf of the accused, disrupt the reverent silence. The bailiff usher in 5 young Arcnean men, all vassals of great houses. As defendants, they have been stripped of their swords, yet their defiant stares remain unwavering. Lucius Diamant looks up from his papers, his voice echoing faintly beneath the stone vault. Your Highness, these men are heirs of the Arcnean aristocracy. They ought to have upheld the throne, but instead they violated their duty. They are charged with forming a secret society that sought to conspire against the imperial family and spread slander against the Tempests. Why isn't the secret chancellery dealing with this? Shouldn't you deal with traitors? As you survey their youthful faces, a blond Archean with his hair tied back in a black ribbon locks eyes with you, lifting his chin in defiance. Through me, the law now addresses the offenders. You have an opportunity to confess your guilt in slandering the Tempests, to repent and ask for a pardon on your knees. Should you do so, the heir may show mercy, and you may be spared further punishment. I'm guessing this would have come in handy. I don't have any though. The young men exchange glances. The blond Archean steps forward, his shoulders squared, his gaze still trained on you. Should we apologize for being born Archean? I'd choose true death over a humiliation such as that. Unlike the heir to the throne, we have not forsaken our honor. If the prince will not do his duty as ruler, no Archean will bow before him. No one in the palace has the authority to pass judgment on us. None of them understand the realm of the Archean, or the Archeans to whom it belongs. There is no one to protect our interests. We have no emperor, only usurpers and deceivers. The guards finally snap out of their daze when they hear his words. They twist the young man's arm, forcing his head down. Defiantly, he overpowers their grip and continues speaking, his chin raised high, his voice strong and unwavering. Who are you that the Archeans should bend the knee to? You are no Tempest. You've forsaken the ancient oaths of your ancestors. You've turned your back on your own people. You are unworthy of the throne you sit upon. You glare at the young man, his face contorted in hatred, your fists clenching on their own. Still, you refuse to let emotions control you. A short break will do you good. You walk out of the courtroom, keeping your breath steady. Lucius Diamant and Tarquinius Melanatus follow, hastily trying to catch up. You stop just outside the door, giving them an opportunity to speak. The blood is still pounding in your temples, but you've regained enough composure to think. There's no denying that Vincius Marina said some unforgivable things, but please remember, the young man has only recently entered his blood tide, and his family has not yet had time to properly guide him, to shield him from his folly and caution him against acting so impulsively. Besides, we have to admit that there is some truth to what he says. Our recent policies have not exactly favored the interests of the great houses. The young Archeans are certainly guilty, and yet the fault is not theirs alone. Their ancestors, their families, and the great houses themselves also share the blame. Let their ancestors, who are responsible for guiding the young Archeans, face the punishment. The great houses will give you the offender's ancestral mask, thus earning themselves a chance for reconciliation. This is a time-honored tradition, and the great houses will regard it as a suitable resolution. There's a brief silence. Diamant adjusts his glasses and speaks calmly but firmly. The law must be upheld, my prince. Humans are bound by it, yet Archeans still live by the code of honor, expecting leniency and special treatment in legal matters. There must be no double standards in justice, lest it show that His Highness does not honor the law of his own realm. There's no other way. You must follow the letter of the law, no matter how harsh the judgment may be. The perpetrators are guilty and unrepentant. Those who have plotted against you and slandered the Tempests in public must be executed. You bow your head in contemplation. If you uphold the law, the Archeans of the great houses will never forgive the execution of their kin. Meanwhile, your leniency could win back the great houses, but the human nobility could view your decision as forsaking the law for the sake of political advantage. Whatever choice you make, some of your subjects may abandon you, or even start scheming behind your back. I can't find a compromise, which would have bumped things up to 8. I can either pardon the Archeans, the great houses will go up by 2, the human nobility will go down by 1, progress will go down by 1, and rebellion will go up by 1. Or I can execute the Archnians. The great houses will go down by 3, jurisprudence will go up by 1, the power of the Tempests will go up by 1. Well, no rebellion goes up, so there's that. And I am more than likely going to do this because that'll put me within 1 of triumph of jurisprudence. And again, rebellion doesn't go up, so there's that. Oof, excuse me. Execute them, loudmouth bastards. You declare that your mind is made up. Without a word of explanation, you head back to the courtroom. Stepping into the hall, you meet the fearful eyes of the young men and the defiant stare of Vincius Marina. In a cold, unwavering tone, you deliver your judgment. The culprits will be executed. A murmur ripples through the Archnians behind you. You declare that the Empire has left behind the dark ways of the past. All subjects, regardless of their title and power, will be held to the same standard of justice. No tradition can stand above the law. The convicted Archnians are escorted out, their backs straight, their faces set with haughty pride. A charged silence fills the hall. For several days, you anxiously await the response of the great houses. You expect angry letters, confrontational visits, new insults, perhaps even open challenges, but nothing comes. You are ready to face their fury, but this silence, it's even more frightening. Ah, great. So yeah, I am now enemies with the great houses, and there's that. But again, jurisprudence went up. The rebellion did not go up any further. I can't afford much with that. And this was just the first little beat of this chapter. Alrighty, so with that and this train of, absolute terribleness, we are going to stop it here. And then in the next episode, we will try to go ahead and finish out this chapter. And possibly after that, the next episode, maybe we can finish the last chapter. But again, these are very, very long, so these are going to be very long videos. I'm also considering that at the end of this, I might just mash this up into one long ass video so it could just all be in one place. And you can have a nice, lovely 12-hour video. I don't even know how long that would be. Just all in one package, and you can just watch that all at one time without having to go from episode to episode. But again, that's just a thought. If you would like for that to be a thing, let me know in the comment section and we can go from there. But yeah, again, I am still very much enjoying the game. I did take a little bit of a break because this is a lot of talking, and it is a lot. These videos are quite long and it does damage my voice quite a bit. So yeah, I had to take a little bit of break there, but I am now back. But yeah, we're gonna try to finish this off and on to the next one. So if you like the video, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I have a lot of things on the channel, and I will have many other things in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.